across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
There you are. Good afternoon and welcome to Drive Time right here on Talk. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan and I'll be your host for 3 powerhouse hours of news, views and topical debate all the way to 7 o'clock. Get on the show, get on the phone and call me on 0344 499 1000, or you can WhatsApp voice note me on the same number. And I promise to play your message out. It is Wednesday, February the 25th. Here's what's coming up. Labouring under the delusion that anyone trusts a single word he says, Peter Mandelson insists that it is not true that he was planning to flee Britain to escape the criminal allegations against him, since Mendacious Mandy has such an impeccable track record for never lying. That's good enough for me. Who do you believe? The police, who decided to arrest the disgraced so-called Prince of Darkness on information that he was set to run away to the British Virgin Islands? Or the shamed politician who fibbed his way into the job of Britain's ambassador to America? I know it's a difficult one, but let me know which one you're going to plump for. 0344 499 1000. In other news, as Two-Tier Keir insanely negotiated to give yet more money to the French to not stop the boats, having already handed Mini Macron a staggering £700 million, I can reveal that since the weather improved yesterday, the migrants have been pouring across the channel. Hundreds of them. 74 yesterday. That's official. What people don't know is all through the night and all through today, now that it's sunny, now that the weather is temperate and the English Channel is calm, they have been coming across in an armada. Isn't that special? 0344 499 1000. Stay tuned for the grim details. Also on today's show, Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson says that little boys should be allowed to wear dresses to school. Isn't that special? The latest on the scourge of grooming gangs. Harry and Meghan embark on another weird pretend royal tour. Former Bake Off winner Nadia Hussain declares that she's been shown the TV door because of, drumroll, racism. And after big blokes Ed Balls and Martin Lewis little-ladied Kemi Badenoch, the scourge of mansplaining, explained by a woman. All that and so much more, so don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Wednesday afternoon together. Let's go straight over to Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Welcome, Isabel.
Good afternoon, Kev, and I'm in London, not being very international today, and what a gorgeous afternoon it is.
Exactly, you came here for the weather. Yeah, funny enough, I was just looking at the BBC and there's some weather guy going, it's the hottest day of the year. So, hang on, it's the only hot day of this year. There are still places in this country, I read about a Cornish village where literally every single day this year so far it has rained. I hope they're getting a respite today. Listen, let's talk about Mandelson first, because we broke this story yesterday. Extraordinary story. Because when we saw a couple of days ago the cops, Monday, wasn't it? The cops descending, swooping on his £8 million house in London's Regent's Park. We were all going, 4:30 in the afternoon on a Monday. Well, this is what will they never do this? Like with Prince Andrew, or the former Prince Andrew, they always go first thing in the morning to make sure people haven't left the house. And indeed, old Andy apparently was having his breakfast when the cops arrived. That's the standard MO. Why 4:30 in the afternoon on a Monday? Well, it transpired, we found out yesterday, that the cops had reason to believe, they had information to suggest that the former ambassador to America, Britain's former man in Washington, the former deputy prime minister, the architect of New Labour, was planning to flee the country to escape the criminal allegations against him, to go to the British Virgin Islands, to be precise. And we're thinking, well, where did they get that information from? Only the Speaker of the House, the Labour Speaker of the House, Sir Lindsay Hoyle. I got to say, I've had my problems and difficulties and differences with Mr Hoyle in the past, but I'm warming to Sir Lindsay now. Let's have a quick watch of Sir Lindsay speaking in the House of Commons earlier today.
Members will be aware of comments in the media regarding the arrest of Lord Mandelson. To prevent any inaccurate speculation, I'd like to confirm that upon receipt of information that I felt it was relevant, I passed this on to the Metropolitan Police in good faith, as is my duty and responsibility. It is regrettable this rapidly ended in the media, as this is a live investigation. Members will understand that it would not be appropriate to make any further comment, and I'd like to caution members from doing so.
Well, Isabel, the Met Police have apologised to Lindsay Hoyle for revealing that he was the source of the information. But before we discuss this extraordinary saga, let's talk about Mandelson. So Mandelson has hired Mishcon de Reo, the most expensive legal firm known to man. So you'd expect that. So he's got these very high-powered, highly paid lawyers working on his behalf as he battles allegations that of misconduct in a public office, that he allegedly flogged secrets, British secrets, to his best pal, the American billionaire paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Now, his lawyers yesterday, when this information arose about the police suddenly going to arrest him on Monday, because apparently there had been an arrangement that he would present himself at a police station in early March to be interviewed under caution. That quite often is the way these things go. His lawyers, when it turned out the police said, well, we had reason to believe he was going to do a runner, his lawyers got very high, absolutely outrageous stuff. He was not going to leave the country. Mandelson letting me know, I would never do such a thing. I've got my partner Ronaldo and my dog Jock. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I was thinking, methinks he doth protest too much. Now, the question we have to ask, as Mishcon de Reo, I'm not impugning their integrity, by the way. They are merely saying what their client is clearly telling them. So we're talking about Mandelson here. So who do we believe? Do we believe the police when they said, on the basis of information received from no less than the Speaker of the House of Commons, Sir Lindsay Hoyle, that Mandelson was going to do a runner, run away from these charges, these allegations? Or do we believe Mandelson, who on his high horse is absolutely not true? Who do we believe? I know who I believe, and it's not Peter Mandelson, because Peter Mandelson has been lying throughout his career. Am I right?
Well, I know who I believe, and that is Lindsay Hoyle. You know, you and I have actually had our differences over Lindsay Hoyle over the recent months and years since he became, since he's been the Speaker of the House. And, you know, I know you take issue with his globe-trotting and so on, but I believe that he is a man of integrity. I'm certainly, as I said at the outset, Isabel, and I mean it, I'm warming to him, and I think that he has certainly acted as a man of integrity in this circumstances. So I'm warming to old Lindsay. So I don't think that he would have made that call unless he really felt that, you know, he had some information that was beyond speculation. And it was hardly beyond the realms of possibility that Peter Mandelson would leave the country. I mean, I think most people in his situation would be running through their options, and most people would surely have a bit of a temptation, if they were a person of means like him, to disappear, to leg it, to go somewhere where it would be much more difficult for the long arm of the law to reach them. So it was hardly beyond the realms of possibility that something Peter Mandelson was considering doing. He, of course, denying it, but it was an entirely credible threat, I would have thought. And it seems an odd choice, though. You would have thought that the British Virgin Islands would have had some kind of extradition arrangement with the UK if it's overseas territory. I thought he might disappear to Panama or, somewhere more radical.
More than that, Isabel, the word was, I heard through the grapevine, so his partner Ronaldo is Brazilian. And it seems to be a matter of some speculation and debate as to whether or not Mr. Mandelson or Lord Mandelson owns an apartment, a property in Rio de Janeiro. Nobody can quite nail that down, but the speculation was that Ronaldo was already in Brazil and that Peter Mandelson was going to join him there. Now, Brazil has an extradition treaty with Britain. So does, of course, the British Virgin Isles. But the point is, the guy is not charged. He denies any wrongdoing. If he'd have got to Brazil or the British Virgin Islands, extradition deal or not, it would have taken months, maybe years to get him out of there. So, if it's true he was going to go to the British Virgin Islands or Brazil, he knew what he was doing, because we wouldn't get him out of there for an age. We really wouldn't.
On the other hand, this is the original spin doctor, the original political master of the dark arts, and he would know, being a very intelligent man, what a terrible look that would have been.
He'd have been like Ronnie Biggs, wouldn't he?
Right. I mean, great train robber. It's one step away from kind of being in disguise somewhere on the Costa del Sol, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that he would have known that to do such a thing would make him look even more guilty. And therefore, he's decided that the best way to face this down is, as you say, to employ the scariest lawyers that he can think of, the most heavy-handed, the lawyers that will frighten, he hopes, the media into restraining their coverage of the investigation into him. And that's what he's going to do. He's clearly going to try to style it out. Pretty difficult. I mean, I must say, he looks an absolute mess in this footage that we've got of him. Yeah. He looks disheveled. He looks like a broken man. And whether this ends up with him ultimately in a court, I would have thought there's a decent possibility of that. But who knows whether it ends up with him actually in any way behind bars. He's, of course, adamant he did nothing wrong.
Yeah, I was watching Sky News last night, my mistake, I know, and they had a sort of strapline on their Mandelson story saying something along the lines of, Mandelson's fury over false claims he was set to flee the country. No quotation marks or anything. Just accepting his story. There are people in the media who are still listening to this guy, who still revere him. My view is, who knows what he was really planning, but what I do know about Peter Mandelson is he is a proven lifelong liar. So whether or not you want to believe his story that he wasn't going to flee the country is up to you, but I know you've got your doubts, Isabel, and so do I have. So let me know, folks, what do you think? Was Peter Mandelson really planning to leave the country to get away from these allegations against him? 03444991000. Let's move on if we can, Isabel. Bridget Phillipson, the little class warrior, the education secretary, taking a little break from her big campaign to get rid of every public school in the country. She now is suggesting that, or stating that little boys should be allowed to wear dresses to school. We're talking about little boys aged 5, as young as 5. They should, if they want to identify as a girl, they can socially transition and wear a dress to school at the age of 5. Now, the nice thing about this is Bridget Phillipson's from that ilk, the sort of socialist ilk, where they think it's the state that brings children up. She has actually conceded and this is nice of her, I think, that if a little boy does want to wear a dress at school, the parents should be informed. That's nice, isn't it?
I mean, this just begs so many questions, doesn't it? What does she mean the parents should be informed? I mean, it would be pretty strange if very young children were going off to school in their school uniform and then changing their clothes on the way in the loos or something before they go into the classroom. Now, of course, I'm sure that happens with older teenagers, but not with really little ones. The assumption, the absolute presumption should be that parents are fully involved and informed of any stuff that's going on with their children at school, for example, with children asking teachers to be called by different pronouns, by a different name. Of course, parents should be told that.
It's a nuance of which they should be informed, I agree.
I mean, I find all this stuff terrifying. I'm beginning to think that actually Bridget Phillipson is more dangerous than Ed Miliband, and that in the Grand League table of dangerous Labour ministers, she is actually pretty near the top of the chart. I know there's a lot of competition. We probably have to put Rachel Reeves right up there. But is potentially Bridget Phillipson more dangerous to the health of our nation, to the well-being of our children, than Ed Miliband with his net zero crusade?
I think she is. She's one of the cabinet members that worries me a lot, along with Ed Miliband and various other lunatics who are supposed to be governing this country, including the Prime Minister. But yeah, I mean, I think that this is a form of child abuse, indulging children. Age 5, a little boy said, "I want to wear a dress." You know, what the sensible adult would say, no, you can't do that. Instead, they're going to be indulged, and I think indulging kids with these silly little ideas when they're 5 and 6 years old is child abuse, don't you think?
I think that there is almost certainly a very direct link between what is going on at home and what kind of nonsense supposedly liberal progressive parents are teaching their very young children. You know, well, you might be a boy, you might be a girl, it's up to you, you know, to decide what you are. We're not going to assign you anything in particular. Those are the children that are generally going to be ones that question their identity. Yeah. You know, the vast majority of British households and all over the world, indeed, a boy's a boy, a girl's a girl, and there is a discussion about variations on that theme. And once you begin sort of saying to kids, well, actually, maybe you're not who you might appear to be, that becomes really, really unsettling and disturbing. Yeah,
and just a little clue, a little hint, a little bit of help for any kids who are wondering what sex they are, what gender they are. If you have a look between your legs, there's a really good clue, and then you can find out whether you're a boy or a girl. It's these adults indulging this nonsense. I mean, you know, I accept gender dysphoria can be a problem as kids get older, in very, very rare cases, but at the age of 5, 6, do me a favour. That is ludicrous. We must stop being so silly. In fact, adults should stop being so childish about this, if I can put it that way. Isabel, good to have you back on the show. Great to talk to you. Thank you very much for your time. Isabel Oakeshott Talks international editor there. Now, we're going to go to break now. When we come back, I've got some breaking news about the number of migrants who've been coming across the channel today. The officials' figures aren't yet recorded, but I can tell you that as of now, it is thought that at least 200, maybe more, migrants have come across the channel illegally today under the cover of the lovely calm weather we've suddenly got. This is the first time for weeks any have come across. 74 managed it yesterday into early evening last night, but hundreds today. So it's back on, folks. The Armada, the invasion, it's happening again. We'll bring you all of that next. Stay tuned.
Join me, Rob Jenrick, on the Jeremy Carr Breakfast Show on Talk.
There's a lot of harm happening in the country right now. People feel like the country's in a mess. Why is it so difficult for this Labour government to just say what a woman is? To believe in basic biology and common sense. Take away these human rights laws, which have got completely out of control now. You know, I do believe that economies can be fixed and you can get catch-up growth. On illegal migration, we're very clear. We're going to detain and deport absolutely everyone who enters our country illegally.
Ring in, ask me any question, I'm here to answer.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. The migrant crisis, folks, is very much back in business. The weather is nice, fantastic day in London, hottest day of the year, only hot day of the year, and not a cloud in the sky, and that has been reflected not far from here on the south coast, where the English Channel is like a mill pond. So yesterday, 75 migrants or 74 migrants came across, and today I can tell you, I can reveal hundreds are coming across, have come across. Let's introduce journalist and broadcaster Robert Taylor. Welcome, Robert. We're looking now, these pictures, this is from 8:30 last night at Ramsgate. So all these guys, the orange jackets, those are the migrants arriving yesterday. This is exclusive footage. So that's when it started. That's when the floodgates opened. I'm told from my friend, my eyes and ears down in Folkestone, Liam, that the channel has been a hive of activity ever since, with border force boats going back and forth, dinghies everywhere, and as of about 4 o'clock, it is estimated something like 200 had come across, and still they come. Now, this resumption, if you like, of our familiar old problem, the migrant crisis, illegal crossings of small boats across the Channel, comes as it is revealed that Keir Starmer, Robert, ludicrously, is currently negotiating to give the French yet more money to patrol their beaches and not stop the boats. We learn that they don't stop 2/3 of the migrants and the boats that want to come across the Channel, even though so far we have given Macron £700 million. That is not all down to Starmer and Labour, of course. It was Rishi Sunak, the Tory Prime Minister, who started that ball rolling. But Starmer, as we speak, is negotiating to give the French yet more money, hundreds of millions, no doubt, not to stop the boats. And we can tell they haven't been stopped because they're pouring over right now, hundreds of them. This is a French farce, isn't it?
Yes, it is, Kevin, and we all remember Starmer boasting before the last election that he was going to smash the gangs. You remember that? He made it sound so easy.
Smash the gangs!
Yeah, smash the gangs. That's what we're going to do. The evil Tories, they're rubbish. We're just going to, as soon as you get Labour in power, we're going to smash the gangs. Now, I used to call that false advertising. I now think, Kevin, I would call that a downright lie. That's what it is, because there was no plan to do it. In fact, the only thing that Labour did on day one was to smash the Rwanda plan. That's what they did. The only thing that actually had any hope of, within international law at least, stopping these boats, he got rid of on day one. So that smash the gangs mantra, which loads of people, millions of people bought into, I'm afraid I'm now calling that an outright lie.
That was, well, it was certainly didn't happen. They didn't smash a single gang, kept saying they were going to, but didn't. And in desperation, as the Smash the Gangs initiative just disappeared into comedy, really, just a comedy and joke, no, everyone laughing about it. So they then switched to the even funnier, but not in a good way, one in, one out scheme, which currently stands at something like, I think we have sent back to France something like 250 migrants, and they've sent us about 340, so we're losing. That's since August. You know, I'm just going to read through the figures generally of the migrant crisis since Keir Starmer became Prime Minister. That was, how can we forget, July, a couple of Julys ago. Since he became Prime Minister, 66,239 have crossed the Channel. Actually, that's not including this latest batch. Illegal migrants for 2026. The biggest number was 1,530 in a day. We had so far this year, we've had 933 in January, because of course the weather's pretty bad. Migrant numbers altogether for 2025, 41,467. So it's a deluge, it's an avalanche, it's an armada. We get invaded day in, day out. And for some time now, because of the winter weather, nothing's been happening. But here we have it, weather improves, bang, it's back on, and they're coming across. As I say, as of about 4 o'clock today, it is estimated that at least 200, maybe more, to come across, and it's expected by the end of the day, maybe 300. So that's going to be 375 or so in 2 days, because the weather's nice. So we have no deterrence. The only deterrent this government offers migrants who want to come across the Channel is the weather, and that's not really in the power of the government. So when the weather's good, they just come across. We got no deterrence. This is the untalked about scandal as we get distracted by so many other scandals.
Well, I remember talking to you a few months ago when One In, One Out was first launched, and you and I were saying, look, this is clearly not going to work. Now, if you and I can work that out, just on a conversation over the airways, why is it that the great and good in the Home Office can't work that out as well, with all these learned people on high salaries? We knew that One In, One Out wasn't going to work. We knew that if we abandoned Rwanda, it wasn't going to work. We knew that giving the French 700 million quid, which, as you rightly say, is partly Rishi Sunak, but we understand Labour's going to renew the contract. We knew that wasn't going to work either. So all of us know this. Why do we keep being told that it's a simple matter of smash the gangs? I wish they'd stop promising more than they are prepared to deliver.
Well, let's cut to the chase, Robert. What we have is absolutely no deterrence whatsoever. The One In, One Out scheme is just a joke, absolute joke, has not deterred anyone from coming across. So they launched it in early August. As I say, the total tally is something like we've sent about 270 over to France. They've sent about 340 back, so we're losing anyway. But since then, early August, something like 15,000 migrants came across illegally. So they were not being deterred at all. Here we have the good weather again, proving once again there are no deterrents to stop these migrants coming across. But of course what we still do have is what we've always had, are the encouragements, the enticements. They'll get here. Well, we saw them queuing up at Ramsgate. They'll be doing that all day today. They'll be processed at Manston, and then they'll be put into 4-star hotels or accommodation bases. They'll be given £50 a week. They'll be given free food. They'll be given free doctors, free dentists, free driving lessons, and so on and so forth. Free accommodation. You know, what's not to like? No wonder they're coming across. No deterrence, only enticements.
And actually, the other thing, talking about deterrence, Kevin, is that the French have an incentive to let these people come across the Channel. As far as I can see, it's not their problem as soon as people get to British shores. So we can give as much money as we like, 700 million, whatever. But why should the French go out of their way to stop these migrants coming across the Channel? I don't really understand that. As far as I'm concerned, the French, it's off their hands, and that's what they want.
Yeah, that's what they want to do, Robert. They don't want these migrants. They can't wait to wave goodbye to them, which is probably why 2/3 of the small boats and the migrants that try to get out of France just do it while the gendarmes watch them. So the idea, what we should be saying is, God, we chucked 700 million quid down the drain giving it to Macron to patrol his beaches because they're not doing it. So we should be just saying, forget it. But not Starmer, the worst negotiator who ever lived, the worst deal maker there ever was. He's sitting down with the French right now, negotiating to give them hundreds of millions of more pounds. That is absolutely absurd. We are in the hands of a total idiot. We really are. Robert, great to talk to you as always. It's Robert Taylor, journalist and broadcaster. Now, when we come back, I'm going to be joined by young Bob, a Christian campaigner, a political campaigner as well, who bravely went to the Islamic Republic of Whitechapel the other day and basically got beaten up. We've seen that famous footage of the lady copper trying to deal with these Muslim men who are furious because there's a Christian preacher there in Whitechapel, very much a Muslim area. They don't like that. Bob, or Thomas Moffat is his real name, went there himself. We'll show you the video, but he had a really rough time. We'll talk to Bob next. He's in the studio. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back now. Thanks largely to Talk's ace reporter Samara Gill, who's been into the heart of Whitechapel, an area of East London close to Talk Towers here, which is a very Muslim area. We know that there are problems, cultural problems in that area. Now, this all stems from a video that we broke on this show last Friday of, you'll know it now because it went viral. This is a lady cop, this was a lady cop telling these Muslim guys that a Christian preacher who was just off camera had every right to be there preaching the Christian word. It's a free country. They called the police because they didn't think he had a right to be there. And also they said he'd been insulting about the Prophet Muhammad. They said he called the Prophet Muhammad a donkey. Not a very nice thing to do. I wouldn't advise that. But actually in this country it's not against the law. He's got every right to do it if he wants to. Now, before I introduce my next guest, it's young Bob, the famous young Bob. Let's just remind ourselves, this is the video that emerged after the lady cop brilliantly pointed out to these Muslim guys, actually this is a freedom of speech issue and the Christian preacher's got every right to be preaching Christianity if he wants to, just as you have every right to object to that, but only in a civilized way. Well, this is the video that emerged afterwards when we finally got to see the Christian preacher, and it wasn't a pretty sight. Have a look at this. See the preacher holding his... Look at this. See, there he is in the middle. Look at that, they're very, very angry.
Look, a lot of people.
They're kicking him and pushing him around. So, there he is holding that thing. So look at this. So his crime, according to these Muslim guys, is that he came into Whitechapel, their area, and preached the Christian word. Now, they might not like that, and it might be deliberately provocative on the part of that Christian preacher, but he's got every right to do it. So it is reprehensible that those Muslim guys react like that. Now, in the studio is young Bob, Thomas Moffat. Welcome, Thomas. And you went to Whitechapel as well, rather bravely, if I may say so. And let's play the video of what happened to Thomas under similar circumstances.
I robbed you. Pardon? I robbed you.
You robbed me?
Yeah, look, don't record me. I'm telling you, don't record me. Next to me. Yeah, don't come next to me. Stop recording me, bro.
You want us to record, brother. You know what you're doing is inflammatory. Even now, just go home. What do you want to get?
No,
I want to make sure that I get his guy's face because he's assaulting me. So when I make a report to the police,
you want a reaction.
Pardon? You want a reaction? There's a difference. Me anxiety because you physically assaulted me. You broke a grand worth of a camera equipment.
Listen.
You broke a grand curve. You assaulted me. Threatened to mug me.
I'm not saying that his actions were perfect actions. However, it's a response to an inappropriate behaviour.
Okay, do you think he's religious for doing that? Because you just said, "Oh, I am not religious for doing it."
No, I'm not saying
apply the same logic.
Why this one? Don't record me. Yeah. You won't listen. That's the point. Yeah, don't.
So that,
bro, don't give me the time. That's what I'm Sorry. Listen, go home and think about your actions because it's actually poor behaviour. Oh, yo, I saw you went to my school.
no need to assault me. No need to assault me.
Well, that's pretty frightening. You're okay, though?
Yeah, there was more attacks off camera because I had a cameraman with me, and I was very happy with the quality because I'm trying to increase it, do actual interviews and debates. We spent about an hour speaking about Ramadan, the Christian preacher, integration and migration in the area, because the last time I checked, it's got about 75% foreign population. You've got a lot of councillors in Town Hamlets Council who focus and spend more time in Bangladesh than they do in their actual constituency that they're meant to represent. So it's a very interesting area. Of course, you had 2 UKIP marches that were actually banned from going into there. And during that time as well, I did a stand on migration. And I will give it to a lot of the Muslim laity. They don't want to scandalise themselves. They don't want people... They don't want this to be used as ammunition against them. So a lot of the times they do refrain being physical whenever they, experience an act of freedom of speech. But on some occasions, like the Christian preacher and like for myself, they get very violent. They nicked all of my camera equipment. They took my SD card. They were pushing me everywhere.
And what was I mean, I noticed one of them seemed to be quite reasonable. What was the essence of what they were saying to you? How dare you come into this Muslim area talking about Christianity?
Yeah, we weren't even talking about Christianity. We were more talking about Ramadan because we were just getting in as they were breaking their fast, and we were doing vox pops outside of the station, and some Muslim recommended we go into East London Mosque, which was one of the biggest mosques in London, and we were interviewing them. It went really well. We had some really constructive discussions. It was quite healthy, actually. And halfway through, a Muslim walked in behind us wearing a mask. He grabs for me. He gets on top of me as well, trying to grab for my equipment. My cameraman has to then leave, and the only footage you got was stuff I was able to grab on my phone.
When you say you went in to talk about Ramadan, in what respect?
Yeah, so on average, Muslims will actually eat more at the time of Ramadan than they won't, because the way that they fast...
Because when the witching hour comes, they can't wait to stuff their faces.
Precisely.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah.
So were you asking them about that?
Yeah, we were asking them because, of course, it's in the same time of Lent where Christians have to fast, mostly abstaining from meat, dairy, oils, becoming vegan for over 40 days. And then you compare that to essentially changing your life so you're just eating more at night. It's a very interesting discussion apologetically, just simply because the Muslim community has been able to strive in dawah, convincing people their religion is true, by convincing them that Ramadan is very pious, that we fast for a significant period of time, when I don't really think it's fasting. You can say it's a religious practice and you're celebrating something that's holy, and of course as a free individual you can do that, but I think we should really talk about breaking the misconceptions of that certain religious practice, and unfortunately I got battered as a result of it. And even then, when I called the police...
Well, wait a second, Thomas.
Yeah.
What is it? I mean, can't you just let them get on with Ramadan? What's your problem with the fasting? Let them do it.
No issue with it. But we're talking about other issues as well. So it's a matter of, if I don't like the idea that something is a no-go zone in this country.
Yeah.
This sort of mentality that this is a Muslim area and I can't go and ask controversial questions.
Yeah, I get that. I agree. So did you go into Whitechapel because you saw the female cop and the
combination of, I've done this before in Whitechapel. It's not the first time I've done debates in Whitechapel, and it just seems like there is a momentum building up of the Muslim community sort of fighting back against elements they don't like on, you know, the political right and the religious Christianity front. But
you would accept that by going in there as a Christian, you know, to question their religion, that is quite provocative, isn't it?
Yeah, but like, I'm named after the apostle who went to southern India and tried to convince the king that Christianity is true and Christ is his Lord, and he got his troubles for it. So I do believe that, look, I'm not an adrenaline junkie. I do actually have substance behind what I'm doing. But we should be able to test the waters in areas of this country, especially if we're the political position of talking about social integration.
But is your line when you were talking about fasting for Ramadan and comparing that to Lent, is your line that sort of Christianity is better than Islam?
I would say it's more attacking the misconceptions on the internet that I constantly see as a Christian apologist, that Ramadan is some act of total devotion and piety. And I think there's this post-COVID phenomena, especially spread by people like Sneaker and Andrew Tate, about Islam, because men lost their identity and they were trying to find something that grounds them as men and as individuals. And Islam kind of propped up through the internet and the algorithm. And
do you think Lent is better than Ramadan?
Absolutely.
Well, why?
But first of all, okay, when we say fasting, for example, right, we're talking.
What have you given up?
Oh, I don't give it up. You fast. No, so we fast for about 48 days on dairy, meat, and oil.
So why is that better than Ramadan?
Well, okay, so when we say fasting, right, let's say we're fasting for 40 days, we're not completely not drinking and eating, right? So you have to have a system of fasting that both compromises and gives devotions to God whilst also maintaining your living status, right?
Yeah.
So what the Muslims will do is they'll delay it. So they'll just say during the night you can eat whatever you want, but during the day you can't. Now, some people who work night shifts do that. If you compare that towards Christianity, you're giving a significant portion of your essential diet away from contemplating on God's mysteries. So I would say that Lent is better. I wasn't talking about Ramadan in trying to promote Lent, but it was an interesting comparison considering a lot of Muslims don't really know anything about Lent. We're not really taught in a secular curriculum that Lent exists within the Orthodox way, and it is actually an effective form of fasting.
I don't know if Marrakesh, you know, the big square in the middle of... Have you ever been to Marrakesh? There's a huge square called Fana in the middle of the city. And there are loads of food stalls and everything. And then during Ramadan, you can go to these restaurants and cafes overlooking the huge square. And it's quite a sight because, you know, tens of thousands of Muslims there, and they lay out all their food and they're waiting for the sun to go, you know, for the moment when they can eat. And the moment the sun goes down, bang, they go in there and they really eat fast.
When I used to work in McDonald's, a lot of the Muslims were working in the kitchen. And the problem was if you have the night shift, when they're just able to break their fast, they all want to go on break at the same time. So you have an empty kitchen, it's just hectic. So that's you know, it's harking back to that. You still resent that. That's why I don't resent it. I just think it's a really counterproductive way of sort of eating and fasting.
But you know, religion does that. But you would understand that that. You know, I'm not batting for either team here, but going into a Muslim area and saying I think that Ramadan is relatively rubbish compared to Lent is slightly provocative.
It's provocative, but like someone has to highlight that firstly, Christianity exists on the national stage as a religion that was set by my ancestors, and that it is a religion that it is a protected class like Islam is. For the longest amount of time, I feel like Islam has been put on a pedestal quite unfairly, and it doesn't just hurt Christians and Jews and so on and so forth. It actually hurts the Muslims because if they're put on a pedestal and they're seen as more protected than other religious groups, it means they get unfair flack for it.
Just a slight quick comment from you on presumably on the same basis you will go back to Whitechapel, because the other element of your demonstration, if you like, was to kind of implicitly object to the idea that a Christian or anyone else is not allowed into what they call a Muslim area.
I wouldn't do it again. Like, I wouldn't go outside of the mosque, but I would certainly do a stand if I'm able to get ample security, if someone wants to organise a protest, but I'm not going to just, for no reason whatsoever, cause massive aggression.
But, okay, well, let me ask you just conceptually, do you think that the fact that there are definitely a fair few areas like Whitechapel where the residents consider it almost to be an Islamic republic, you know, a Muslim area that others are not allowed into, is that a source of concern for this country?
It absolutely is, and the reason why is there's no template of Britishness that these people can attach themselves to. If migration only happens in certain concentrated areas, it means that they completely come to other areas of the UK and they can't communicate properly. And it's not just going to affect the native population, it's also going to affect these communities as well, because then they're blamed for no reason other than they've just done something that's permissible for them.
Okay, and last question, very quickly. I know this is old ground for you, but I haven't spoken to you since you sort of switched from Reform to Ben Habib's Advance UK party and now Rupert Lowe's Restore Britain party. You've been on a journey. Why is it that you think that Restore Britain is better for you, and I assume young people generally, than Reform?
Recent poll came out that said, I think we're a few percentage points away from being on par between 18 and 24-year-olds with Restore Britain, because I think it's optically better. If you think about it, if you look at people like Charlie Downs in Rupert Lowe's team, they can appeal to young people. If you look at Rupert Lowe himself, he's seen as more of a Thatcherite figure, so he can, you know, really link towards the older generation. So they're a great bridge for the restoration of Britain. The younger people want to see the old Britain they never knew, and the elderly want to reminisce and be nostalgic towards the Britain that was far better and far greater than it currently is at the moment. So you can't conserve a broken system, you can't reform a broken system. The only thing you can do is restore it to its later glory.
So you think Reform is merely just trying to somehow or other
I think what Nigel
work with a broken system.
Nigel, for all his credit, when he came into politics, I do actually think he wanted to do the right thing. But with UKIP and the Brexit Party, you've begun to notice that the only winning strategy for him is to take part of the Conservative Party and become like the establishment in order to have the possibility of winning. Now, that's never going to respond in a good way to the right-wing voting bloc, because we vote on principle, not compromise.
So to just in a very simplified way, what you object to is the fact that Reform UK have assimilated more and more Tories.
Yeah, it's the bully boy tactics when it comes to the sort of unethical kicking out of Rupert Lowe into Reform UK. And just the figures I can't really trust either. I don't really, I object to Robert Jenrick, for example, restating the two-child benefit cap to get cheaper beers whilst also triple-locking the pensions, just because I don't feel like that's going to lobby within the best interests of young people.
Yeah, you're 17, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about pensions too much for a while.
Well, we would have to be the ones paying into it as well.
I know. Listen, Thomas, it's always great to have you in the studio. Thank you so much. That's Young Bomb. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think about what he was saying. 03444991000. Next up, Bridget Phillipson, the Education Secretary, says it's cool for young kids, young boys at the age of 5, 6 to turn up for school wearing a dress. Is it? 03444991000. We'll talk about that next. Stay tuned.
Breaking news in the last couple of moments. Extraordinary news. The police have arrested Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. It's his 66th birthday today. What a birthday present that is.
Mr. Mandarin, how long do you think that you can stay on the island?
We're going to stay forever. Our rights have to be respected now. We're going to stay.
Do you expect Jeremy Clarkson to become a part of your new party?
I can tell you, if Jeremy Clarkson decided to darken my doorstep, I would be absolutely delighted. Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We're running short on time, so let's go straight over to the Director of Campaigns at Sex Matters, Fiona McAnena. Welcome, Fiona. I'm afraid we need to talk about the Education Secretary, Bridget Phillipson, who, you know, frankly, I think has lost touch with her senses. This is ridiculous. She says that pupils as young as 5 should be allowed to experiment with their gender identity, and teachers should not be coming down too hard on them if they turn up to school wearing a dress if they're a boy. She says we have to tread with a lot of care here, but if 5-year-olds do want to identify as the opposite sex, she says we've been clear that in primary schools we need a lot of care. This is usually where it involves parents' decision to support their child in that way. In other words, she's saying, yes, 5-year-old boys, if they want to wear a dress to school, should be allowed to, as long as the parents know and it's the teachers have talked it through. I say, I'm sorry to sound old-fashioned, I say that should not be allowed. I say it's madness to allow a little boy of the age of 5 to do that, and I think it's a form of child abuse to indulge kids like that. Sorry to be old-fashioned. What do you think?
Well, I think it's wrong to suggest to the boy that wearing a dress has any meaning beyond the fact that it's a dress. You know, if a school has a uniform policy that's different for boys and girls, then they should apply it. If they're going to let boys and girls wear anything they like or let them wear each other's stuff, that's also a choice. But the big mistake here, and what I think I agree with you, Kevin, is abusive to children, is for anyone to say to a boy who wants to wear a dress that that means that he in some way is not really a boy. And we know that's where the trouble starts. And it can start that early, that if trusted adults around a child start telling him that maybe his wish to wear a tutu or dress up in a glittery Disney princess dress means that he's really a girl, he's going to believe those adults, and he's going to grow up wondering, you know, what his future holds. And so I fully agree, it does not make sense. Wearing a dress or dressing up or anything else is a choice that a school can make to let children do that. It's nothing to do with whether you're a boy or a girl, because we know that can't change. And children need to be told that, because otherwise it's setting them up for trouble and misery.
Yeah, and you know, I'll accept that gender dysphoria is a thing for kids who are a lot older than 5. But what are you actually doing to a 5-year-old boy who says he wants to wear a dress by saying, oh yeah, that's fine, just do it? You experiment with your gender. You go ahead, that's fine. What are we doing to that kid? Setting that kid up for a difficult life, I would suggest.
Yeah, and I think it depends what he's being told. You know, if he's being told, well, that's not usual for boys, but hey, let's break the boundaries. If you want to do something different, that's fine. You're still a boy. You're a boy doing something unconventional. I wouldn't send a 5-year-old to school with that, because I think it's setting him, you know, in line for trouble. But the real problem is when people say he's expressing some inner gender identity, and that, I fully agree, that's a path to disaster for that child.
That's the point, she says in this interview. So if a boy wants to wear dresses, we're talking about a 5-year-old boy, we should just, if we allow that to work, children will experiment at different points, said Bridget. They will consider who they are. That is a dangerous sentence, don't you think? 5-year-old boy allowed to wear a dress to school and then allowed to consider who they are. That's dangerous, I think.
Yes, I agree. I mean, 15 years ago, none of this happened. You know, we do have in some schools strict dress codes, in others we have anything goes. None of it is anything to do with who you are. We're all male or female. That's not who we are. That's just one fact of what we are. And teaching a 5-year-old child any different is irresponsible.
Indeed. And I mean, this is all part of Bridget Phillipson's new guidance to schools, which I think a lot of her new guidance, which is based, of course, on the Supreme Court biological sex ruling, is actually a step forward. But there is this small part of it where it says that 4-year-olds, 5-year-old kids should be allowed to consider their gender identity. And I don't think they should be.
I agree with you. I think we can't make any exceptions to this because then, you know, that's a loophole that some children, unfortunate children, are going to be put through, if you like. It's activists who do this. Responsible parents don't do it. It's not necessary, and it's not the best way to have happy outcomes for these children as they grow. All the evidence points to that. Let them deal with reality.
Exactly right. So 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds allowed to consider their identity, their gender identity. You know, as I say, if you let them do this, you indulge kids like this at that age, you've got to ask the question, what are you doing to them in terms of their entire life? I think you are making, you know, a formative change that could be dangerous. I think we have to really seriously think about this. Always good to talk to you, Fiona. Thank you very much for your time. Fiona McInerney, Director of Campaigns at Sex Matters. Are Fiona and I right that we really have to think seriously before we indulge little boys of the age of 5 and 6 whether or not they want to wear dresses? How about just saying, no, you can't? I think it might be better for the kid. What do you think? 03444 991 when we come back after the news, we're going to go through some of the big stories of the day with the excellent writer and broadcaster Emma Trimble. So much still to come. We've got a great show lined up for you. So you better stick around. Stay tuned to Drive Time right here with me, Kevin O'Sullivan. See you in a mo.
the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. This is the second hour of Drive Time right here on Talk. And Harry and Meghan, the gruesome twosome, are off on another one of their weird pretend royal tours. This time they've gone to Jordan. We'll talk to Angela Levin about that. I'll also get the latest on old Randy Andy, the former Prince Andrew, of course, as well. Meanwhile, a former policeman and whistleblower, John Wedger, who I've had on my show before, he'll be in the studio in a little while to talk about the untold story of the scale of the rape gang problem here in London and around the country. It is still, folks, a massive scourge. The rape gang scandal is still happening all over the country, particularly here in London, bearing in mind that our mayor here, little pipsqueak Sadiq Khan, not so long ago insisted it wasn't happening, as if it's happening all over the country, but the capital city has been magically spared from this scandal. Rubbish, rubbish. And because of his lethargy on the issue, John will tell us that it's much worse than it could have been, thanks to the mayor's refusal to accept that it is happening. We'll talk to John in just a little while. Before we get to any of that, though, let's go through some of the biggest stories of the day with writer and broadcaster Emma Trimble. Hi, Emma.
Good to be with you, Kevin.
Always a pleasure. Now, I want to talk to you about Keir Starmer. He's sitting down as we speak, negotiating how to throw more hundreds of millions of taxpayers' pounds straight down the drain by giving it to the French to not patrol their beaches very successfully. We learned today that the gendarmes on the northern French beaches around Calais are letting 2/3 of the migrants in the small boats successfully embark on their 21-mile journey voyage to Britain. Now, as we learned of this scandal, really, this guy, what on earth is he doing? We've already given the French 700 million quid, right? For no reason at all, really, because they haven't really stopped many boats, haven't stopped many migrants. And we've seen all this footage of them waving the migrant, "Bye, enjoy England," you know, and all that. So we've already given them 700 million. He wants to give them more. But as bad luck from his point of view would have it, yesterday, after weeks of no activity on the channel, because the weather's been so bad, yesterday the weather was great, 74 migrants came across. We've got exclusive footage of them all lining up at Ramsgate Harbour to be processed, to be welcomed into the bosom of this country. Here's a nice hotel for you, 50 quid a week benefits, or free food, doctors, whatever you need, lawyers, you know, we'll pay for them. So we got that footage, and also I can tell you that today, again exclusive to this programme, that at least 200, probably more, have come across the channel today because, of course, it's another lovely day and the channel is like a mill pond. So as we are reminded that this migrant crisis is back in business because the weather's better, the winter's over, spring is here, Keir Starmer is negotiating hundreds of millions of taxpayers' pounds away, pouring them straight into the money pit that is France. I mean, it's a sort of, it is a French farce. It is just a sick joke, all this, isn't it?
Well, glad as I am that the French managed to stop 35% of the boats from crossing. So that was 22, just over 22,000 people from crossing. Still, as you said, you know, we got 41,000 migrants. We're paying them hundreds of thousands. This is obviously not money well spent, even though they have managed to stop some of the boats. I think ultimately, and I see why, the French authorities don't just seem to not want to stop them from crossing. They don't want them to be in France. And surely the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. The fact that Keir Starmer is talking about just doing more of the same. I mean, we are clearly being mugged. We're being mugged by the people who are coming over here, walking all over the British taxpayer, because of course we're putting these people up at our expense while we process their asylum claims. We're being mugged on that front, and it looks like we're being mugged by the French as well, because this is obviously not doing the job. We need to be talking to the French about how we can stop 100% of those boats coming across the border. As Lionel Shriver has said, if you don't have a border, your country is just a line on a map.
Yeah.
If you don't have the ability to actually have proper sovereignty over your borders, you do not have a country. And if you don't have a country, you don't have a proper functioning democracy. This is a completely unsustainable situation. And I think rightly now, people are talking about this in terms of an invasion.
Yeah.
Because what else are you supposed to describe the sheer numbers of people coming across the channel as? This is completely unreasonable on the British people. We're always talking about sympathy towards those who are coming here. Some of them may be genuine asylum seekers, but what about sympathy and empathy for the people who are already here, who are struggling, who are having to pay for all these people? We cannot be the world's piggy bank.
Absolutely right. And there are serious calls for Starmer to stop paying the French this waste of money. You know, 2/3 are getting through, and we've given them £700 million. That's ridiculous. And now he wants to give them more. We are never going to solve this migrant crisis if it's based on cooperation with the French, because the French are bad actors in all this. All they want to do is get rid of them, wave them goodbye as they come across the channel. Let me know what you think about that, folks. 03444991000. Let's talk about Peter Mandelson. Extraordinary story broke while I was on air yesterday, Emma, that the reason the police unconventionally raided his house in London's Regent's Park at 4:30 on Monday afternoon, they always go round in the morning on this kind of raid, was because they suddenly received information that they thought was very credible, that the former Deputy Prime Minister, former Ambassador to Washington, former architect of New Labour, who sailed to the highest heights of Westminster's elite, was planning to flee the country, was to do a runner, to go to the British Virgin Islands, to be precise, although there's other talk that it might have been to go to Brazil. He's furiously denying this. His lawyers, Mishcon Dorea, say absolutely not true. But we've learned today that that information to the police, no less, came from the Speaker of the House of Commons, Sir Lindsay Hoyle. And lest we fear any kind of political motivation here, Lindsay Hoyle is a Labour MP. So he said that he felt it was his duty to tell the police about what he knew, and the police took it seriously, and they went round and arrested him. So the question is who do we believe? Mandelson's denials, or do we believe the police and Lindsay Hoyle that Mandelson was planning to flee, to do a runner, to run away from the criminal allegations against him? I know who I believe, because Mandelson has got a track record for lying. So I know who I believe. Who do you believe, Emma?
Well, in general, I don't believe a single word that comes out of Peter Mandelson's mouth for exactly the same reasons that you've said.
I'm not sure about in general. I don't think you need that caveat.
In the specifics, I mean, we really don't know. Good on Lindsay Hoyle for doing this, because he's breaking the trend within the Labour Party, which seems to be, frankly, if we look at what Keir Starmer is doing by wanting to keep these files under wraps until he's no longer Prime Minister, it seems that the trend in the Labour Party is actually to just cover everything up. So good on Lindsay Hoyle for doing this. I mean, what else could any decent person in public life do? He went to the British Virgin Islands. A source told him that this was the case. He then did the right thing, reported this to the police. The police have now acted on that. Obviously, Peter Mandelson, as you say, does deny it. But the police, I believe, spoke directly to the source. They didn't just take this sort of as gossip from Lindsay Hoyle. They've obviously made the judgment that just to be on the safe side, they want to make sure he stays in the country. And so this is the route that they've taken, which seems to me to be above board, which, as I say, is not quite the trend, it seems, in the Labour Party.
By the way, I'm just receiving information that it may well be, in terms of these migrants that have come across the channel today, 350, I am being informed, but it may well, by 7 p.m, my source tells me, be 400. So quite a number coming over. The invasion is back on, Emma.
Just a normal day on the Kent coast, Kevin.
It's lovely.
Think about the poor people who live there.
Exactly right. Well, think about the poor people who live in this country, as you said. If you don't have proper borders, your sovereign country begins to dissolve. That's what's going on. The Chagos Islands deal is on hold. It has been paused. The bill to give away the Chagos Islands, the strategic islands in the middle of the Indian Ocean, to Mauritius, Britain to Mauritius, Mauritius being China's best friend. No one knows why we're doing that, somehow or other. Ace negotiator Keir Starmer seems to have organised it so we give the Chagos Islands to China's best friend and then also give them £35 billion. So much money that the Mauritians are going to cancel income tax. It's a joke. Anyway, Donald Trump last week said, no, this is a terrible idea. We have a treaty, actually, that demands American approval before we can give away the Chagos Islands. We haven't got that approval now, so hooray. The Chagos deal is on hold. It's been paused for talks with America.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, for your service to this country and our sovereignty. The whole situation is just such an unbelievable mess, because now it looks as if the Maldives are also moving in, stating that they have some claim. So it looks as if this is going to have to be, and I hope so, just almost permanently put on ice, because it is tied up in so many legal complexities. And ultimately, the bottom line of this is that this original ruling from the international courts was only ever advisory. They don't have to do this. And actually, the whole basis of the historic claim of Mauritius to those islands doesn't really make sense. It's remarkable from the perspective of Keir Starmer that he doesn't seem to give two hoots about the actual Chagosians, who, when they recently arrived, ironically, by small boat on the Chagos Islands, were immediately told that they needed to leave. They were being evicted, needed to leave, or else they would face arrest. So it seems that they can deal with small boats arriving on the Chagos Islands, but can't do the same thing here. The whole thing is just completely swamped and tangled in legal complexities, hypocrisy, and worst of all, the cozying up to our enemies in the form of China, because Mauritius is, of course, an ally of China. And I think this entire deal is a serious security risk. And thank God that Donald Trump is stepping in, and as he has done with free speech, actually standing up for what's best for the British public, while our Prime Minister refuses to do so.
Absolutely. And now Nigel Farage, of course, over the weekend actually flew all the way out there, but was not allowed to go to the Chagos Islands. A British citizen not allowed to go to a British territory. He wanted to help those 4 brave Chagosians who've gone back to their homeland and are literally living off the land there now. The British tried to kick them off. It's their country, for God's sake. A judge ruled that we got no right to do that. Nigel went out to try and help them and to make a point. He was not allowed anywhere near them. But he has been speaking in the House of Commons about this, so let's remind ourselves of what Nigel Farage said about the Chagos fiasco earlier today.
At the age of 14, Michel Mandarin was forcibly removed from his home, the coral atoll of Ile-de-Quoi, dumped on the quayside in Mauritius, forced to live on food scraps out of bins. He has resettled those islands and yet now faces a removal order from yet another Labour government. So maybe twice in one lifetime, he's going to be asked to leave his homeland. Can I ask the Prime Minister, for a government that is full of human rights lawyers, within and without, why do the opinions and human rights of indigenous Chagosians not matter to him at all?
It's a good point. I mean, isn't it, Emma, that you know, only recently, was it last month, that Keir Starmer was on his high horse shouting and screaming about the rights of the Greenlanders to their own sovereignty, as Donald Trump said he was going to buy the place or invade or whatever. Sovereignty, the sovereignty, the Greenlanders should decide their own sovereignty. He's very, very energised about that. Doesn't give a damn about the sovereignty of the poor Chagossians, does he?
Well, at least Donald Trump was doing that to the benefit of the security of the West, whereas what Keir Starmer is doing is the absolute opposite. It's completely to our detriment. And just listening to that clip makes my blood boil. Who do those MPs think they are? It's absolutely shameful the way that they were jeering like that. The history of this island, it's very clear. The Chagos Islands were uninhabited when it was colonized by the French. And then we came to take control of those islands, including Mauritius, and chose to separate it from Mauritius, which is the basis of this international court saying that we should never have been able to separate it from Mauritius when we decolonized Mauritius. So this is ultimately part of a decolonization move, which I think is why the Prime Minister is so ideologically committed to it, even though it's not in our benefit, and is allowing this to blind him to the people who are actually from Chagos, whose home this was, who were evicted from it, and refuses to stand up for them. It's completely obscene that Nigel Farage was standing up there in front of these jeering MPs, and that the Labour Party wouldn't see the good sense of what he's saying.
Yeah, I totally agree. And they're like performing seals, aren't they? And all shouting, apologise, apologise. No. Why don't you apologise for behaving like an oaf in the House of Commons?
They've had an ideological lobotomy, Kevin.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe it's not the only kind of lobotomy they've had. Emma, fantastic to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining me. Emma Trimble there, writer and broadcaster. Now, when we come back, former Met policeman, and a whistleblower, John Wedger, will join me because we need to talk about the state of the rape gang scandal, the fact it's still going on in London, the fact that it's still going on all over the country, and the fact that the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, tried at one point to maintain that while it was happening all over the country, it wasn't happening in the capital city. Absolutely outrageous. Our next guest, John Wedger, knows the truth. I'll talk to him after this break.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. In the studio is a former Met Police copper who blew the whistle about the rape gang situation here in the capital, only to be told to shut up or he would be in trouble. So welcome to the studio, John Wedger.
My
Hi,
pleasure,
John.
Kevin,
Now, you and I have talked about this now. I think this is the third time we've met. Well, first off the bat, tell us when Sadiq Khan, not so long ago, insisted no rape gang problem here in London. Tell us your thoughts on what he said.
Well, it's absolute nonsense, you know, and he will be advised by his committee that will tie him with the Met Police, because bear in mind, he is like the commissioner, the Police and Crime Commissioner for London. So I can't see how that is possible, that he doesn't know they exist. I knew they existed, and I was far down the food chain. I passed on to my superiors about what was going on. I even have documented evidence here that shows it was going on.
In your notes. How long ago did all this happen, when you were passing on the evidence?
Yeah, I mean, this goes back to about 2007, 2008, but I can't see as it changed. In fact, I think it's probably got a lot worse because it hasn't got the police attention it once had. And if I can give you an example of what I found within minutes.
Yes.
I got a list of children's homes, I called them up. And as I called them up, I made notes. And these are my notes of the time, my original notes. The first one I called up and I said, do you have any children that go missing? And the guy said, yes. Yes, we do. I said, what are they involved in? He said, well, prostitution. The guy...
So when you say go missing, these are kids in children's homes who are mysterious, because you've told me this story before, that they're mysteriously picked up by people first thing in the morning and then they're not seen again. Well,
not only that how it works is these children's homes, they're sort of, there's a little caveat in these, that they're sort of looked after placements, so they're not governed by Ofsted.
Right.
So they're pretty much unregulated, but they're a money-making concern. So there's not much emphasis put in child welfare. But they do have someone on the desk that has an occurrence book that jots down stuff. So within minutes, I'll tell you what I found. I found that this girl, 15 years old, she's a regular missing person. She gets picked up by a guy in a red Fiat Punto. The number plate is here.
Don't say the number plate.
I'm not going to do that. The name
but
is
it's in
here.
your notebook, yeah.
And even the street name of the guy that was picking him up was here. I'll go on, and within minutes I found this out. And one of the most alarming ones...
John, so what happens to the kids then? They're driven off?
They're picked up.
Then they are abused?
They're taken off and they are taken to a place where they're abused. Some it's done privately, others they're done in saunas. And I've got the names of the saunas here. The most alarming one, Kevin, was one kid's home in Haringey, and I said to the guy, how many kids you got? He said, we got 6 kids. How many do you lose to prostitution? And he's told me, I've got it written down here, we lose 5 out of 6 weekly basis to prostitution.
Oh God. So when you passed this information, when you were still a serving officer, to your senior cops, your senior bosses, what happened?
Well, what I did was I then organised a multi-agency meeting. I've even got the briefing notes of that meeting in which I list a dozen care homes with a dozen children out 52. There was a dozen children that are most at risk. And I brought it to their attention. And this was the second time I was silenced. The first time I brought it to the attention of the police was when I was on Scotland Yard's Vice Unit, and I was threatened with the loss of my home, my job and my children if I ever mentioned outside this room what went on. And this second one, I was not only silenced by the police, I was silenced by social services, who recently, when they were approached during the stuff with the mayor, they denied, Haringey Council denied they even heard of it. Well, they were privy to this meeting. You know, the head of safeguarding for children was in this meeting.
So you got absolute direct experience of the way, because we know this story around the country now, the way the authorities, social workers, teachers, local politicians, the authorities generally turned a blind eye, deliberately acted as if this wasn't happening.
And then acted with aggression and bullying to silence me, to stop this stuff hemorrhaging out, which we're seeing it's happening now.
And I mean, what was the reason that you were given that you were supposed to shut up?
Well, I was told the first time this happened that my information would F the police, past, present and future. It must not and cannot ever get out. If it does, you, John Wedger, will be thrown to the wolves.
And the situation, so to your certain knowledge, as we're speaking now, to be fair to Sadiq Khan, he's kind of conceded that maybe there is a problem now in the city, but it took him a long time. But to your certain knowledge, right now, as we speak, children will be abused in a rape gang scandal kind of situation.
100%. 100% it'll be going on now. I went out a little while back after I was on your show last time. I went out with an investigative journalist, and within minutes we found a girl from the age of 14 had been working on the street.
And what sort of scale are we talking about? What's the scale of all this?
I don't think we even know how big this is. If for example, we can split it to kids that are actually working on the street and those that are being taken to placements for the purpose of prostitution, if we take that 5 out of 6 are being exploited in this manner, boys and girls. So I list boys and girls. A lot of this other stuff just goes on about girls. No, it's boys and girls. Every colour, every ethnicity, and they are being exploited. It's almost a given that when these kids go into these placements, they're going to be predated on straight away. And not only will there be the pimps, as it were, attacking them, they also use other children in the homes to coerce the kids into it, so they don't stand a chance.
Yeah. So what we're saying here, this is going on in London. I can't think of a better word for it, but there must be one, but on a grand scale.
I don't think we have any comprehension how big this is.
Is it really big? Yeah.
Huge, huge, yeah.
Man. And around the country, from what you know, again, it's still happening, isn't it? Everywhere.
Of course. Of course, and what we also have to understand is these kids are moved about. So they're not only kept in London, they can be moved to places like Exeter, Herefordshire, Worcestershire, all around. And so it's an algorithm that's everywhere. Once children are taken out of London, back in the day when I was on this, there was dedicated units on this. The provincial towns haven't really got that resources. I think there are more risk outside of London than they are in London because there's not the police presence to deal with it.
And do you think, you know, there is still a reticence, a reluctance on the part of the authorities to confront this scourge because, hey, they're just orphan kids, who cares?
Yeah, of course.
Not worth the effort.
It's willful ignorance, it's cognitive distortion beyond belief. And I've always said this, it needs a proactive approach. You will not come across this crime. You need to know what you're doing. And you have a lot of these police forces, and I've listened to chief constables talking, and they rely on reactive policing. This presenting itself, it will not present itself. You need people like me to go out there, and if in 10 minutes I can find 10 kids on my own, you think what a national crime police unit dedicated to this could do.
And you've offered, I mean, you've got your files, you've got reams of information. You've obviously offered this to the police and were told, be careful, shut up. Have you let the mayor's office know that you've got all this?
Yeah, well, last time, well, maybe not on this show, but other shows I've done that. I said I have information I'm willing to share. I also shared this information with Professor Jay from Justice Jay, Alexis Jay. She had all of this, and it formed a major part of the organisational strand of the ICSA inquiry.
So as you sit here now, you are making an offer to Sadiq Khan to lay open all your files and to help in whatever way he might see fit to try and do something about this terrible situation here in the capital city.
Not just Khan, Mark Rowley, social services, any NGO that proclaims and professes to have children's safeguarding as a paramount importance. You're obviously doing something wrong. Come to me, I'll help you, and I'll do it for free.
Let me ask you, as a citizen of this country and someone who's obviously got a special interest in this issue, what do you think about, you know, Labour? It was June the 5th, I think, early June last year, the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, finally, kicking and screaming, he wasn't keen on the idea, but he finally accepted because of the Louise Casey report, that the public inquiry that he didn't ever want will have to happen. So he said that we are going to have a public inquiry into the rape gang scandal. Bearing in mind, folks, it is estimated that so far there are 250,000 victims, vulnerable young white girls, many of them victims of these rape gangs, which were mainly Muslim men of Pakistani origin. 250,000 victims, and it's still going on. When you hear about this rape inquiry, public inquiry, very important, said the Prime Minister, and it's not happening, it's not happening, it's not happening. They're kicking the can down the road quite clearly, to my mind. These delays. What are your thoughts, John, about that?
Well, if we look at recent history, we had the ICSA inquiry, Justice Jay's inquiry, 20 recommendations 5 years ago. The previous government did nothing, and this government is doing nothing. Right? At the cost of 200 million quid, nothing has been done. We don't need an inquiry, we need an investigation. We don't need to inquire how this happens. I've just told the whole world, the UK, how it happens.
Yeah.
We need people nicked. We need people gripping a rail in Crown Court. And these victims deserve healing, and healing only comes about through justice.
Justice is better than an inquiry, as it were, because I agree with you. All these coppers, these social workers, these teachers, these local politicians who turned a blind eye because they were terrified that people might say they were Islamophobic or racist, they need to be, they need to have their collars felt, don't they?
Of course, and I think, look, we're seeing this thing, malfeasance in the public office. I made allegations against senior officers for malfeasance. This is malfeasance in a public office, and there is a reluctance to do their job. They've deliberately not done their job, and as a result, children have been severely harmed, and we can't allow that.
And they still are being harmed right now as we speak. Listen to what John's saying. Right now in London and around the country, children are still being abused by these rape gangs. We've got to stop this, folks. Let me know what you think. 0344 499 1000. Big thanks to John Wedger. Now, when we come back after the break, kind of change of pace, change of tone, we're going to talk about Harry and Meghan, who've embarked on another one of their weird pretend royal tours. They've gone to Jordan. No one knows why, but we'll try and find out what this is all about with royal biographer Angela Levin. That next, stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Well, they're off again, Harry and Meghan. Do you remember they went to Nigeria? They went to Colombia on these weird pretend royal tours. Well, they've got on another one now. They've arrived in Jordan, visiting Syrian refugees. This is weeks after William's diplomatic trip to the Middle East, so there's a bit of tit for tat here, I suspect. What is this all about? What are they doing? I don't know. Let's talk to royal biographer Angela Levin. Welcome, Angela. What do you make of these? This is their third weird pretend royal tour. They went to Nigeria, they went to Colombia, and now they've gone to Jordan, to the Middle East. What is this all about?
Well, I think they'd know they'd been in papers and people would say, oh my goodness, they've come, aren't they good, aren't they kind? But I don't think they're either good or kind. I think they want attention. I wonder who's going to pay for it. We don't know. And they're not in it at all. They can't help anybody there. They can just, they're just going round and listening, pretending it's so difficult. Give them a hug. Meghan likes to give someone a hug, and leave it at that. This is just a show off, and perhaps even I think that it would be a different way of having a royal family, that they can do much better than William and Catherine. Everybody smiles at them and they can be a lovely couple, and that would work much better. I think they're presenting themselves that they are much better than the other couple.
And there's no doubt, we've seen this over the years, that everything that William and Kate, the Prince and Princess of Wales, do seems to be very triggering to Meghan and Harry. So they always have to respond. Who can forget? Who can forget when Catherine bravely, for the first time since beginning her brave battle against cancer. Do you remember? It was a couple of years ago. She made her re-emergence very bravely at the Trooping the Colour ceremony. Do you remember?
Yes.
And so everybody's going, oh, she's all over the front page. And that's that very day, as soon as that was announced, Meghan announced that she was unleashing on the unsuspecting world a new range of dog biscuits. It is. You can trace this. There is a pattern of behaviour. Every time William and Kate do something, Meghan and Harry are certain to respond. This is a response to William's recent trip to Saudi Arabia, isn't it?
Yes, of course it is. But it's also against Catherine, because she was brought up in Jordan for quite a long time.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
Yes, her parents brought her up there, and she knows it very well. So here you've got two things in one go. You could go there and go to the places and say, look, we've done much better than them. It's a terrible desperation that is, isn't it? That you've got to do better than them, and you've got to make sure that everybody knows you and sees you. I think it's absolutely appalling myself. They say that Buckingham Palace knew, but that's not saying that Charles said, yes, thank you very much, or William said, thank you very much. It's just putting it down. This time, they just plonk it down, don't care whether they like it or not, and off they went. That's why it was only in the newspapers just today when they left.
And did you notice that it was a couple of days ago that People magazine, which is the favoured outlet for Harry and Meghan, whenever they want to get a story out or some kind of message out, they always use People magazine, an insider, a source close to said. So when you see something in People magazine, it comes from Harry and Meghan. And a couple of days ago, Harry let it be known that he was furious that people were comparing him to his wicked uncle Andrew, insofar as they're both royal pariahs. Now, no one is accusing Harry of alleged crimes on the scale of Andrew, but this does remind us that King Charles and the royal family's problems are not just about Andrew. We are reminded on this stupid pretend royal tour, achieving the square root of sod all, God knows what it's about, these headline hunting, this weird headline hunting duo. We're reminded that the royal family still have an ongoing problem with Harry.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw a little bit when she was watching Harry, who was kicking a ball around, right? And she obviously didn't like it because she took the ball away and started trying to kick it herself.
Well, this is not on this silly tour.
I was in fits because you can't let him get away with it, can she?
Oh,
and actually, she doesn't know how to play football, so her leg was all sort of awkward, but nonetheless she did it, so she get people to look at her. But she did look very, very scared and worried about the people who were very ill. You could see on her face, she does do a lot that's actually, you can read on her face, that she looked really scared. She didn't want to touch them. And she was sort of horrified by it because she's so sensitive that she wouldn't want to catch anything. Well, they wouldn't have put her anywhere with someone who was, got something that would give her a catching problem. But it's just ridiculous. What can they do? They're not going to give them masses of money. I bet you most of those invalids didn't know a thing about who they were or what they were.
It's just ridiculous. And let's remember, Angela, that this couple, the gruesome twosome, Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, I hope they like those titles while they've still got them. But let's remember that they're under investigation in terms of their charity, which used to be called the Archwell Foundation and now suddenly, weirdly, is called Archwell Philanthropies. They're under investigation for who paid for their trips, their first-class airfares and their trips to Colombia and Nigeria, because if it was the charity, then donors, people who donated to that charity, will say, well, hang on a second, we didn't give you money so you can fly first class to Nigeria and Colombia and stay in nice hotels, and now Jordan. We gave you money for the good causes you said you were going to fund. So if they're taking this charity money and spending it on their airfares for these weird pretend royal tours, that isn't right.
No, quite right. But they're also doing this for the Invictus Games, and they ask for an enormous amount of money. Meghan does for clothes. They want the best hotels. They expect the people who are an important, not necessarily people who give money because they're generous, anybody who's well known, they ask for the money. And that they, if it's flying, they want the good plane. They are incredibly greedy about the money. Well, especially Meghan. She's asked for something like over £4,000 for a little sort of party before the Invictus Games start. That's what she wants, and so she's going there. She will ask for money. A few people will be delighted they're there because they wouldn't know if there was anything wrong going to happen. And they're going away back tomorrow, and they haven't really done anything, but they have got lots of photographers there.
Yeah.
So here they are.
It's just a ridiculous spectacle. And 2 weeks after William was there, genuinely staging a proper royal tour and doing good work, there's this ludicrous couple just pretending to do a royal tour that, God knows what it's all about except for chasing headlines and saying, hey, anything William can do, we can do better. It's pathetic. It's really pathetic.
But it just goes in one ear and out the other ear with her because she's going to win. She's determined.
She's going to win, yeah. Well, good luck with that when it comes to, as ever, her weird online store, which I don't believe is selling a damn thing. Not surprising at $64 per candle. Angela, really good to talk to you as always. Thank you very much. Angela Levin there, royal biographer on the weird pretend tour of Harry and Meghan to Jordan. Let's take a quick call before we go to break. Let's talk to Ian in Bridgend, who wants to talk about Bridget Phillipson and boys in dresses. Hello, Ian. What would you like to say?
Hello, Kevin. Pleasure to speak to you. Yeah, it's the sort of thing, this self-identification of gender, I think it's the type of communist agenda we've had here in Wales for a number of years now. The latest manifestation, of course, as you're aware, is girls now are being forced to wear long trousers here.
Yeah, that's right, because girls have been banned, haven't they, from wearing skirts.
Yeah. But it's interestingly, Kevin, this particular comprehensive school, they were the same ones. Do you remember that video about encouraging writing to migrants, I think it was?
Oh, God, yeah.
School uniform. It's creepy beyond belief. But it goes back. It's a communist agenda. Basically, they want the state to take control of our children rather than...
Yeah, I know, you're exactly right, and that's exactly until not so long ago, it was kind of official policy that if a kid turned up at school and said, I want to identify as a different gender, I want to wear a dress, they were allowed to do that at school. And the school would not tell the parents. In other words, the policy was the state was bringing up those children, not the mothers and fathers. I wouldn't trust this state to run a bath, so outrageous. And you're talking about that recent story in Crowborough where that Lib Dem councillor, wasn't it? Green councillor, a woman said that her and her grandchildren had been making Valentine's cards for the young male migrants in the local army camp, which was pretty damn weird. It's a strange world, Ian. Good to talk to you. Ian in Bridgend there. Let's take a voice note. This is Carl again on Bridget Phillipson and her idea that little boys should be allowed to wear dresses to school.
Well, my partner's actually a childminder. She's been a childminder 30 years. And you do get children in the play area, and they will try on different things. You'll get boys trying on girls' clothes, you'll get girls trying on boys' clothes, and it's basically just children being children and just playing about and role playing and messing, basically enjoying themselves. It doesn't mean they want to change their gender, or they want to suddenly become a boy, become a girl, or a girl become a boy. So I don't understand why Bridget Phillipson is saying or indicating that if a boy mentions he wants to wear a dress, that means he should go to school, and then we should start to have different meetings with a teacher, and we should all get together and work out whether or not he should be allowed to be recognised as a girl. And it's just ridiculous. It's just kids being kids and playing.
Well, thanks, Carl. I think you're probably right. It's, and it's a long time since I was a kid. Yeah, I know. It was last century. Probably the mid-last century. No, it was a long, long time ago. But, I was a boy. Still am. We didn't used to dress up in girls' clothes. And girls didn't used to dress up in boys' clothes. So have kids changed, or is this just adults being a little bit silly around children? I think it's that. But anyway, interesting. Thanks, Carl. Carl and Bridget Phillipson there. Let's go to break, and when we come back, let's find out what's happening in the wonderful world of sport with Dean Scoggins, Deputy Head of Sport at the Sun newspaper. That next. Stay tuned.
Join me, Rob Jenrick, on the Jeremy Carr Breakfast Show on Talk.
There's a lot of harm happening in the country right now. People feel like the country's in a mess. Why is it so difficult for this Labour government to just say what a woman is? To believe in basic biology and common sense. Take away these human rights laws, which have got completely out of control now. I do believe that economies can be fixed, and you can get catch-up growth. On illegal migration, we're very clear. We're going to detain and deport absolutely everyone who enters our country illegally.
Ring in, ask me any question, I'm here to answer.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Dean Scoggins, Deputy Head of Sport at The Sun, is in the studio. Welcome, Dean. Now, this is the Sun exclusive. This is Declan Rice talking to Britain's favourite newspaper. He is the Arsenal player, of course, former West Ham guy. We'll take it away, Dec.
What do you feel like is the next phase for Declan Rice? We talk about Declan Rice, 2.0 or 3.0, whatever version we're on.
Yeah, I need 10, 15 goals a season minimum, all competitions. Last year and the year before, I've done really well with my numbers. My numbers with Arsenal have been good since I've joined. I think they have gone up a level, but I think that I've got the ability to do better in front of goal. I can make more runs, I can be set more with the ball, I can take more shots. There's just more risks I can take in front of goal. So I think that's the next level for me now.
Interesting. Do we know how many goals he scored this season?
I think
well,
he's on 4 or 5.
4 or 5. So we've got a way to go.
Yeah. But do you know what, Kev? It was. I was actually there. I was the other side of the camera, and as a Tottenham fan, it was difficult for me to be behind enemy
throwing
lines.
things.
But you don't get this sort of access very often. So we're really quite proud of it because it's a Premier League player in a title race, and obviously an England player this year. He didn't just talk about scoring goals in the title race. He talked about his face being on a London bus, the whole Beckham sliding into his DMs.
What did he say about it? It's weird.
He can't believe it. Yeah, he can't get over it. He said he still thinks of himself as the little boy in the passenger seat of his dad, where his dad's criticising his performance on the way home, and yet now he's driving home and he sees his own face on a London bus. So I'd love to say he wasn't a nice bloke, and I don't like him because he plays for Arsenal, but he was a really charming lad.
I can tell from that. I can tell.
Yeah, and he's loving it as well. And that's the thing. We always talk about these footballers when they're earning loads of money and they're doing all the things that they are, but he's clearly just in love with playing football. So it was really, really great. So it's a really good watch.
Yeah, no, it looks fantastic. You're a Spurs fan. How many do you think you'll lose by on Sunday at Craven Cottage?
Yeah, I'm hoping you might let us out with a draw this week.
I've got this feeling. I have this feeling because I'm a Fulham fan, so I'm always in a state of pessimism. It would go against the grain, but I've got a feeling you might win.
Yeah, we've got a relatively good record, haven't we, at the Cottage?
Well, last time I saw Spurs there, I think we beat you, and then I can always remember when we weren't expected to beat you, we beat you 3-0.
Yeah.
So
we haven't got Harry Kane, who used to score
we've won the last 2 at the Cottage.
Yeah.
So my I should be very optimistic, but well, you know what it's like. You're a Spurs fan. I go into every game expecting us to lose.
I don't know what to expect at the moment with Spurs.
Dear, yeah. I mean, if they do lose, we're going off piste here a bit, but if Spurs do lose, they're going to begin to worry a little bit.
I think we're already worrying. I think we're already genuinely in a relegation fight. I genuinely do. And I think that anybody saying at this moment that Spurs are too good to go down want to look back to when West Ham said they were too good to go down. Because no team is too good to go down. Spurs have not won a game this calendar year, and at the moment don't look like winning one. So, if we do get a result at Craven Cottage, it'll be a very good result.
Yeah, indeed. Are you going?
I'm not actually, no. I'm sadly in the office. Well, I say sadly, it all depends on how Spurs turn up.
Yeah.
I'm going to the Palace game the following Thursday, which is another big one.
Think of me, I'll be there shouting insults at your team. Casemiro's keen to continue his career in Europe after he leaves Manchester United in the summer. He's 34 years old. It's interesting to me. 34 these days, well, it's like almost the new 28, isn't it?
They're looking after themselves so much better.
Yes.
And Casemiro is obviously an absolute model pro. The Champions League he won with Real Madrid, but he told Man United, this is a great exclusive from Samuel Luckhurst, because he told Man United that he is leaving in the summer. They're actually not that disappointed, Man United. They're disappointed to lose a player of his calibre, but he's on a lot of money, so the way they're restructuring, they'll be able to get a couple of players in on the wages that Casemiro's on. But we all assumed America, LA, Miami, somewhere like that, or the Saudi Arabian last payday. But no, he still wants to play in Europe. He's looked at Luka Modric, who went to AC Milan and carried on playing at a high level. He's eyeing up Europe. And I'll tell you what, there'll be a queue of clubs looking at him, because the way he's played under Michael Carrick in the last 6 games alongside Kobbie Mainoo has been fantastic.
Because what's interesting, great players, when they were in the old days, when they came to 34, 35, they would think about the States, a bit of money before they hang up their boots. But now when they're 34, they're thinking, I've got 3 more years, I'll go over to America when I'm 38.
Yeah, I don't understand why they're not looking at beaches somewhere. If I had that much money, I've been paying that long, Kev, I'd be on a beach somewhere.
Yeah, it's a bit like Peter Mandelson and the British Virgin Islands. No, I didn't say that. that. Let's move on. Bo Greaves has admitted she couldn't believe making history as the first ever female to hit a perfect leg on the PDC Pro Tour.
Yeah, amazing. We all love a 9-darter, so Bo Greaves has done it, first female to do it. She's going to, make her way, because obviously men and women play darts against each other, which is fantastic. She did really well at the World Championships, didn't quite make the waves that we thought she might, and she could have played Luke Littler, but to make a 9-darter on the PDC Pro Tour. Fallon Sherrock has done it, but on the Challenge Tour as a female player. So yeah, brilliant, and it was a great picture of her as she did it. She actually, this happens quite a lot, she actually lost the match after the 9-darter, but I think the excitement of the 9-darter is then, you then don't quite hit the heights after that. But she lost 6-3 to David Sharp, but you're playing against the best players in the world, she says, so if you lose the game, it's just your opponent in better. But I could not stop smiling, so fair play to her.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of the weekend games in the Premier League, on Saturday, a couple of relegation issue matches, but nothing special. The big matches happen on Sunday, don't they? We just discussed Fulham and Spurs. Arsenal and Chelsea. Now, that's intriguing.
It really is, yeah. And if Manchester City don't get a result against Newcastle on Saturday evening, then you really start to look at Arsenal putting some more distance again in the title race.
What did you think, Dean, when they trounced your team last week? Did you think it was a case of Arsenal playing very well or Spurs playing very badly?
Both. I think I'd need to cut the new manager some slack. First game, North London derby, but it was just a very good team against a very, very poor team. And I actually thought there was a little period where Spurs gave it a good go. Got a bit unlucky with the refereeing decision with the Gabriel push, if not push. Yeah. It is a foul, but if the ref doesn't give it, it stands. So yeah, but Arsenal just look like, and again, having spoken to Declan Rice and talked about it in those terms, they don't. I know the fans might be nervous, but the players and manager aren't nervous. They think they're going to do it.
I think they've got a lot of confidence last weekend. So in terms of the title race, Man City away to Leeds on Saturday. Man City will fancy that, obviously, and Arsenal will fancy beating Chelsea. So those are the two key matches.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then they're both looking at the fact that they play. Arsenal go to the Etihad in March. It's all building up to a title decider at the Etihad.
Well, I'll be thinking of you on Sunday as I see the goals pile into Spurs now. They will be lucky. Brilliant stuff from Dean Scoggins, Deputy Head of Sport of the Sun there. When we come back, Sir John Redwood, Lord Redwood, I should say, will join us to go through some of the biggest stories of the day. Also, we're going to have a look at mansplaining. Did you see Ed Balls and Martin Lewis mansplaining to the leader of the Tory party, Kemi Badenoch, and she wasn't having it. She said, "Hey, you're talking over at me." They were quite rightly shamefaced about that. We'll talk about that and other things after the news. Stay tuned.
the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. You remember Nadia Hussain, triumphant winner of the Bake Off? That launched her TV career. She got loads of cooking series and was all, you couldn't move for Nadia Hussain. Well, she's been she says she's been bowled out of the TV industry, basically sacked, fired. Nobody wants to hire her anymore. She's actually training to be a teacher. Good for her. But she says that her TV career crumbled because she is a victim of racism. And that the broken TV industry was full of people who were uncomfortable around her Muslim faith. So in essence, it looks to me like she's playing the race card. So was she bowled out of the TV industry because of her race, because of her religion, because of Islamophobic reasons? Or was she bowled out of the TV industry because she's the most boring television presenter I've ever seen in my life? You decide. 03444991000. We'll talk about that in a little while. Now, before we get to that, though, let's talk about the big stories of the day with my next guest. Very pleased to have him on board, as always. Former Conservative Cabinet Minister and now Lord Redwood. Welcome, Lord Redwood.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to you and your audience.
Well, thank you for joining us. Well, let me ask you first of all about the extraordinary saga of Peter Mandelson, who we were all rather surprised on Monday to see the cops swooping on his house in London's Regent's Park at the unconventional, unusual time of 4:30 on a Monday afternoon. Usually, as with the former Prince Andrew last week, they stage these raids first thing in the morning to make sure people haven't gone out. 4:30 in the afternoon Monday. Now, we've subsequently learned that the reason for this was a sudden decision by the police to arrest Lord Mandelson because they felt he was a flight risk, because they had information that he was planning, allegedly, to flee this country, to escape the criminal allegations against him to the British Virgin Islands. He denies this, passionately denies it, but we learned today from the man himself that Sir Lindsay Hoyle, no less, the Speaker of the House of Commons, tipped off the police. He said he had reason to believe Mandy was planning to flee the country. The police acted accordingly. That's extraordinary, isn't it?
Well, it's a very strange story, and I don't think you and I are going to get very far working out why it happened. It's ultimately the police who make the judgment, and it's the police who have to listen to tip-offs and information coming in. It's best if they keep them quiet, but presumably whatever the information was that was passed to them by the Speaker would have been assessed by the police. And now we learn that Mr. Mandelson doesn't agree and said he had no intention of doing so. So I don't think we're going to improve on the fact that the two sides disagree with each other, and for better or worse, Mr. Mandelson has now been interviewed under caution.
That's Lord Mandelson to you, Lord Redwood. That's something else we need to address. We need to take that peerage away from him. But let's move on. Today, migrant crossings have been taking place at quite a rate. I can reveal this. We think maybe as many as 300 migrants, maybe more, have come across the channel today. Yesterday, 74 came across. In other words, the weather's good. They're coming again. As we learn this information, we also are informed that our Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, is currently negotiating with the French to give them yet more money to patrol their beaches. So far, we've given them £700 £700 million. And we learned today they've only succeeded in stopping a third of the migrants, a third of the boats. So 2/3 of them get through, no problem. That's what we've got for our £700 million. And our Prime Minister seems to think it's a good idea to give the French more money, presumably for them to continue not stopping the boats. We are caught in a cycle of insanity here, aren't we?
Well, completely. I mean, wouldn't you love to be negotiating as a foreign country or the EU with this government? You just name your price and they give it to you. And then you say, oh, I underbid a bit, and then they give you some more. I mean, I have called in the past, as you and talkTV, of course, called in the past, for performance against this money. I don't know about you, but I'm very happy to pay a contractor when he's done a good job for me under the contract. But if he doesn't do the job, then we have an argument about how much, if anything, I owe him. Whereas we've got a contract with the French to sort out this problem on their beaches, and we can see them on their beaches, and we're paying for the police and the surveillance equipment and all the rest of it, and they don't actually intercept them or stop them. And it's pretty obvious when you've got a migrant boat, and they don't look like a pleasure boat, and they don't have a license. The very least you'd think they do is to say that is an unlicensed boat. And then they might want to go on and say the person driving that boat is probably a money launderer, a serious criminal, somebody people trafficking. And they should also be very worried about the safety on that boat. And it's just outrageous, those pictures. And they've been going on day after day, week after week. The new government came in and said it was going to smash the gangs. Even Conservatives are saying, what a good idea. Why don't you go and smash the gangs? It had been coming down a little bit under the Conservatives. First thing the Labour government does is they rip out the bits of the legal changes the previous government had rather belatedly got round to putting in, which would have helped the situation, and they take them out. I mean, they took out the change of law which we needed, which was if you arrive illegally, you cannot claim asylum. That would stop a lot of it.
It certainly,
and
it
you
certainly would.
Don't go on giving money to France when you're not getting value.
Stand by. I mean, what's happened for weeks? There has been no crossings because the weather's bad. The only deterrent that is offered to the migrants is meteorological. The weather last couple of days has got good. Guess what? They're coming again. 74 yesterday. It's possible, we haven't had this confirmed, but it's possible that as many as 400 will have come across today. We're looking at footage, it's exclusive to us, of migrants arriving last night. This is around about 8:30 in Ramsgate in Kent. A whole line of them. 74 yesterday, maybe as many as 400. As the weather gets better, stand by, Lord Redwood. The invasion will start again, won't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely shocking. And you can see crimes being committed, as we were just mentioning on the French side, but when they arrive in the United Kingdom, the government that wants to smash the gang should immediately arrest the person who'd been driving the boat, because when they pick them up, they can see who was driving the boat, because he must be the organizer. And they should obviously ask all the people on their arrival, who did you pay? How did you find out about this boat service? What was the marketing system for this boat service? Who's doing the money laundering? Why did you go on a boat which didn't have a license and endanger yourself and children if you're bringing them? But we don't seem to do any of that.
It's extraordinary. We don't have any deterrents at all, just enticements. The insanity continues apace, Lord Redwood. Can I ask you what you think? The headline on this is amusingly schoolboy error. Bridget Phillipson, the Education Secretary, has said in an interview that boys as young as, well, I presume girls as well, but boys as young as 5 and 6 should be allowed to wear dresses and make decisions on their gender identity when they go to school. I just worry that a kid as young as that, if says for whatever reason I want to wear a dress and is allowed to do it, I just wonder what effect that might have on that kid for the rest of its life.
Well, yeah, I would want the Education Secretary to be discussing the things that really matter, like poor performance for some children in some schools, and getting on with providing the money and directing the extra teachers she promised. I don't think it is the job of the Education Secretary to lay down the dress code for every school. I think that is best decided by schools along with their parents in consultation. And I think any parent would be very careful before letting their son go to school in clothing that was quite unlike any other boy, because boys can be a bit rough about those who don't conform.
Yeah, I remember. Extraordinary, extraordinary. Now, let's talk about the Chagos deal. This is encouraging news. It is on hold. The bill has been paused while we conduct more talks with America, with Donald Trump, who, of course, last week said, no, this is insane. Britain must not give the Chagos Islands to China's best friend, Mauritius. Now, we have a treaty that demands we have to get American approval before we give these up, before we do anything with the Chagos Islands. America clearly right now is not giving us its approval, and the bill is on hold. Perhaps at this 11th hour, sanity will prevail, and we won't now give away these strategic islands in the middle of the Indian Ocean to China's best friend, Mauritius.
Yeah, please, Prime Minister, listen to talkTV, listen to Common Sense, listen to those of us who've been telling you for a long time that this is a ridiculous deal. There is no need to give the islands away. You certainly don't give a bonanza of extra money on top of giving the islands away. You certainly don't give them away to Mauritius, 1,200 miles away from the islands, and they never owned them in the first place. And you don't do it without asking the Chagosians, who were the people who were driven off in order to set up the big American and UK base in the first place. I mean, it's a great irony, isn't it, that the original treaty to set up the Diego Garcia base and to let America use that land was negotiated by a much more sensible Labour government. And that treaty made very clear that as America was going to spend a lot of money on making it probably their best base outside the United States of America and sink all that capital, they wanted a guarantee that Britain would carry on owning the island and let them have it on a free lease. Why wouldn't they? Because we were doing joint defence, they were spending a lot of money on defence, and so it made sense for both countries. And Sakir didn't seem to understand a word of that, and then, of course, he blundered in with lawyers telling him that we were under a legal obligation to give it away because some people in the UN thought we should, without being told, apparently, that the International Court of Justice, who thought these things, doesn't apply to us on anything to do with defence or the Commonwealth. And Mauritius and Diego Garcia is defence and the Commonwealth. So any good lawyer could have told him, you don't have to do this. So, Prime Minister, please read the script and accept that you got it wrong, and the country will rejoice that we don't have to pay all that money to a friend of China, and we can keep a secure base for ourselves in the United States.
Yes, it's insane to have a Prime Minister who prioritises international law, or his perception of the importance of international law, over the welfare of the country he's supposed to lead. It's extraordinary. And what do you think, last question really, Lord Redwood, always a pleasure to have you on the show, by the way. What do you think of the Prime Minister's decision to ban President Trump or America from using RAF bases to launch potential strikes on Iran? That's not likely to do much good for the special relationship, is it?
No, it isn't. And I think you need to talk longer with the American ally rather than leaking out in public that you disagree with them and you want to annoy them. Because after all, they think Iran is a threat to us as well as to themselves. And immediately, Iran has missiles that can reach the UK and Europe. It doesn't yet have missiles that can reach the United States of America. And it's very much in our interest to be round the table and talking to the United States. And I do think President Trump is desperate to settle this without more violence. That has always been his past practice. That is what he's saying. So I think the British government is behaving very foolishly in letting people know that they aren't going to cooperate with him.
Keir Starmer's government behaving very foolishly. Perish the thought. Lord Redwood, great to talk to you as always. Thank you so much for joining me. Former Conservative Cabinet Minister Lord Redwood, former John Redwood, of course. Let's take a couple of calls before we go to break, shall we? Let's talk to Mandy in Felixstowe. Hi, Mandy.
Good evening, Kev.
Chagos.
Not yet. I'm glad it has been put on hold, but did you also know that through Europe and the Spanish, Starmer's on about giving away Gibraltar?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's right. He can't wait to give away to pretty much every piece of British territory in the world. He thinks it's something to do with, a throwback to the empire. It's a symbol of imperialism, colonialism, and he wants to give away all these British territories. I think it's horrible, don't you?
I do, but was it going to be Falklands next?
Well, what, give them back to, or not give them back to, what am I saying? Give them to Argentina and the Malvinas. Is that what you're saying?
No, we fought and won, didn't we?
Yes, we did, Mandy, we did. Mandy, I'm with you all. This government, this Prime Minister, is mania for international law, is the scourge of this nation. It really is. Mandy, good to talk to you. Mandy and Felixstowe there. Let's talk to Karen in Bournemouth. Hi, Karen. You want to talk about Bridget Phillipson and boys in dresses. What would you like to say?
Yeah, Bridget, destroyer of childhood.
I mean, I'll tell you, it's an interesting thing you're saying there. Because, I mean, I don't think it's a good idea to let 5-year-old boys or 6-year-old boys wear dresses because they decide they want to identify as a different gender. I think that's too young an age to make that decision. But in the end, you're right. This is almost about sexualising 5-year-old kids, isn't it?
Oh, it is. And also, too, what she's done is her phraseology is very careful in the fact that she's saying that children who want to self-identify, the parents will be told, which implies that she's not going to give them a choice of whether they approve of it or not.
I mean, I mean, I think, to be fair, she's saying that, well, if some kid, some little boy wants to wear a dress, it will be his permission to do that will be with consultation with the parents. I think, to be fair, she is saying we have to get the mum and dad to approve of it. But I just don't think it's a good idea. I think you're indulging little kids at too young an age on this kind of issue, don't you think?
Well, you bear in mind that children are sort of the age of 4 still think cartoon characters are real.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
this is just straight up and out abuse, and she shouldn't be. Sorry about this, Bridget, but you shouldn't be allowed near children.
I agree with that. Well, I don't know about that, but I do agree that indulging little boys, or for that matter, little girls who want to pretend they're boys, at the age of 5 and 6, is just it's wrong. You shouldn't indulge them, because I've been saying all day, Karen, if you think about it, some little kid, some little boy, 5 years old, goes, I want to wear a dress to school because he's seen it or heard about it, and that kid is allowed to do that on a kind of infant whim. What are we doing to that kid for the rest of his life?
Well, he's going to have an awful day, because a lot of the other kids will just be really horrible to him, and he'll never want to wear a dress again.
Yeah, I just think you let a little boy of the age of 5, 4, 5, 6 wear a dress to school. What kind of effect might that have on that kid for the rest of his life? It's worth thinking about, and it's worth worrying about. Karen. Great call, thank you. Always good to talk to you. Karen in Bournemouth. Let's listen to a voice note. This is Kelvin on Nigel Farage.
The clip you just played about, Nigel Farage in Parliament over the Chagos Islands, it just shows you what sort of pathetic left-wing idiots we've got in Parliament, all shouting during, sending like seals having a party, not letting him speak. He's a more intelligent man than any of them lot, and the way he keeps his calm just shows you what sort of man Nigel Farage is. The idiots in the background, they should be ashamed of themselves. They behave like children in a playground.
Yeah, it's a good point, Kelvin, because this happens to Nigel Farage and all the reformers, but particularly Nigel Farage. When he stands up to speak in the Commons, there's this cacophony of stupid noises and the poor guy, he can barely get his sentences out, you can barely hear him, and you're absolutely right, Kelvin. Those people are childish They're supposed to be our representatives in the mother of all parliaments, Westminster, the House of Commons. And well, they're like a bunch of performing seals being thrown fish. It's ridiculous. 03444991000. When we come back, we're going to talk about Nadia Hussain. She's the winner of Bake Off some years ago. That gave rise to a hell of a TV career. You couldn't move for her for a couple of years. Now she says she can't get any work. In effect, she's been rode out of the TV industry. She says she's been a victim of racism and that her Muslim faith made people in the TV industry uncomfortable. So she's essentially playing the race card. Is it that? Or is it that she was just a really boring TV presenter? I wonder which one it is. What do you think? 03444991000. Maybe she got the job on a DEI basis. You know, diversity and all that. 03444991000. We'll talk to social policy analyst Dr. Rakib Ahsan next. Stay tuned.
Breaking news in the last couple of moments. Extraordinary news. The police have arrested Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. It's his 66th birthday today. What a birthday present that is.
Mr. Mandarin, how long do you think that you can stay on the island?
We're going to stay forever. Our rights have to be respected now. We're going to stay.
Do you expect Jeremy Clarkson to become a part of your new party?
I can tell you, if Jeremy Clarkson decided to darken my doorstep, I would be absolutely delighted.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. In 2015, Nadia Hussain won the Bake Off, and the Bake Off was a massive show then. She went on to host Nadia's Asian Odyssey, Nadia's Cook Once, Eat Twice, and Nadia's Time to Eat. She was a regular on our screens, almost a staple, never off our screens. Anyway, she has now disappeared from view and says she's essentially been rode out of the TV industry because of her colour and because of her religion. So she's played the race card. Let's talk to social policy analyst Dr. Rakib Ahsan. Welcome, Rakib.
Evening, Kevin. How are you?
I'm good. Now, as a former TV critic, I was a TV critic when she won the Great British Bake Off, and when she started getting all these shows, I couldn't help suspecting it was something to do with DEI, with diversity. No, there's nothing wrong with that in itself. She was never a very exciting TV presenter, if you ask me. But now she says that all of a sudden The BBC isn't commissioning any of her shows. She's actually training to be a teacher. Good luck to her. Well done. But she says that while she was working in TV, I get paid less to do the same job as a white version of me. And she says it was really interesting because I felt like people had just twigged, oh, she's a Muslim, and I wasn't palatable anymore. Frankly, Rakib, she's playing the race card. I mean, the questions I guess I have to ask you is, did she get the job in the first place because of her race and her religion? I think there's an argument that she did. And is she right to play the race card now she's been rode out of the TV industry?
Well, Kevin, as you remember, when Nadia won Great British Bake Off, it was it was an extremely popular show. I think you could say that it was almost at the peak of its
massive,
popularity.
Absolutely,
It was huge. Many viewers. I would say that she performed well. I think there's many people not questioning.
She's a good cook, no doubt about that, and a nice woman.
And a nice woman, absolutely. And I think that on the back of that, she enjoyed some astonishing success. Various shows, as you said, that she featured a great deal on the telly. I'd make the point that all of this is very subjective. I think that people say, how stimulating a host she is, for example, on those shows, how exciting a character she is. Let's be honest, she's not the female version of Ainsley Harriott, put it that way, in terms of being engaging.
Mind you, that would be an insult, maybe. Arguably.
But I think the point is, like, Ainsley Harriott has his style, but he generally is quite
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Put it this way, he makes an effort to capture the audience.
Yes, he does.
Now, and I think that it's a bit of a shame that she's gone down this road. Now, and I also know that she has a weakened immune system as well. So she's been through the wars.
Yeah.
Let's be honest about that. But I think that the argument in terms of, I think ultimately she's making the point that her Muslimness ultimately reduced opportunities for her in the long run. But I'd make this point that she enjoyed many opportunities on the back of winning the Great British Bake Off, and there's a lengthy period of success as well. But sometimes, for one reason or the other, sometimes all good things come to an end, and then maybe it depends on what producers or editors, what they're really looking for. That can change over time. So I think that to say that because of my Islamic faith, this is why I'm not receiving these opportunities. I'd actually make the argument maybe because she's of Bangladeshi Muslim heritage, because we didn't have many people of Bangladeshi Muslim heritage characters on TV, prominent characters. Maybe that allowed her to enjoy those opportunities to begin with. I'm not entirely sure, but people have their own opinions.
Well, obviously, I'm in the media industry. I've been around the television industry for a long time.
You've been around the block, Kevin.
Yeah. Let's not dwell on that. But seriously, I've never. There isn't. Within the industry itself, I don't think there is prejudice, and I've never seen prejudice against or Islamophobia in the television industry. So I don't think there's any validity in what she's saying. And as you say, we can't know exactly what's going on in her head, but this does sound to me like sour grapes. Suddenly she's out on her ear. She's pursuing a career in television, good for in teaching, good for her. But saying, this last year has been very important to me to realise that, really accept that I can't fix a broken industry. She says that she always didn't get paid as much as white people. I'm not sure that that's true. It does feel like sour grapes from someone who, frankly, got her break because of diversity, and I'm not complaining about, nothing wrong with that. It was good to see a Muslim woman suddenly all over our TV. So she got a break because of it, and now it just feels uncomfortably like she's rather pathetically playing the race card. I'm getting sacked, or I'm not getting any work because I'm a Muslim woman. I don't think it's true.
Well, I think that when some people, when they are disappointed over their career trajectory, or they feel that their career has stalled or it's not going quite according to plan, there is that tendency to ultimately blame this on forms of racial or religious discrimination, especially if you belong to an ethnic, racial and indeed religious minority. I think that my argument is that in terms of calling it a broken industry, it's also an industry where she's been incredibly successful in. for a long period of time. And I don't want this to become a situation where if you have young British Muslims who want to break into that industry, I think that Nadia's intervention might be doing more harm than good. In that sense. If you want it to be truly accessible and you want to encourage young people from your own communities to really break into that industry and make headway and make progress, then I think this would be the wrong way of going about it.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, you know, we can't know the inside truth of this story, but it comes across as if she's just moaning and saying, you know, I got sacked because of who I am, because I'm a Muslim woman. And as you quite rightly say, well, for something like 10 years, she got a hell of a lot of work. So the prejudices that she's suddenly talking about clearly weren't there when she was making Nadia's Asian Odyssey, Nadia's Cook Once, Eat Twice, Nadia's Time to Eat. I mean, not only did they project her, they really did it based on who she was, on Nadia Hussein. So she got all the breaks, and then suddenly she's not getting the breaks, and it's all down to prejudice against Muslim women. Well, it wasn't when she was getting the gigs.
No, absolutely. And I think that actually, Nadia's saying she's had a great number of opportunities to celebrate her Asian, Bangladeshi and Muslim heritage through her shows, through her appearances on TV. And she did that for a prolonged period of time. And I think that to say that all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, because of these forces of Islamophobia, she's ultimately been banished from the industry where she's enjoyed so much success, it doesn't quite add up for me, unfortunately.
No, it doesn't. Rakib, great to have you on the show. It's always good to talk to you, mate. Thank you very much for coming on. Dr. Rakib Ahsan, social policy analyst. Are you with him and indeed me? It's a bit disappointing. I just think Nadia Hussein is playing the race card. Oh, they sacked me. It's not because they don't want me anymore. It's because I'm a Muslim, I'm a woman. It's the colour of my skin, my race. What do you think about that? 03444991000. When we come back, still with the issue of women on television, we're going to talk about something that happened a couple of days ago on Good Morning Britain on ITV. A really shocking example of mansplaining, where that TV financial bore Martin Lewis and Yvette Cooper's husband, Ed Balls, former politician, former Labour MP, sort of ganged up on no less the leader of the Tory party, Kemi Badenoch. They basically, oh, you shut up. You know, you're just a woman. It was a really excruciating moment, and Kemi, to her credit, suddenly went, excuse me, you two, you're talking over me. They were. We'll show you that, and we'll talk about what was going on there, and we'll talk about the phenomenon of mansplaining. We'll get mansplaining explained to us by a woman. She is psychologist Wendy Gregory. That next. Stay tuned.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We're going to play you this clip from Good Morning Britain a couple of days ago. It's really excruciating, actually. Martin Lewis, the TV financial bore, really rates himself, had decided that the moment was so intense that he had to burst into the studio to start shouting at Kemi Badenoch, the Tory party leader. Ed Balls joined in to shut her right up. They little ladied her. They mansplained to her, and they chose the wrong victim. Before we have a look at that clip, welcome to the show, psychologist Wendy Gregory. Hi, Wendy.
Hi, Kevin.
OK, let's watch this excruciating moment on Good Morning Britain a couple of days ago.
If you want to help the middle-earning students, the most important thing is the repayment threshold should have been increased. When the Tories brought this in, it was a graduate contribution system.
This is exactly why young people are suffering. We've got lots of people who finished university when they didn't have to pay fees, didn't have to take out loans, and now you're all saying, oh, nothing can be done, don't do this.
I'm not saying nothing can be done, I'm saying what you should do.
Well, I'm the first person who's even trying to solve this problem.
Shall we have a chat about it? Because I think you've got the right idea, but this is not a solution that will help the middle-earning students.
Martin, if you want us to have a debate, I'm very happy for us to have a debate.
Does the middle student benefit from a cut in the interest rate?
I think people need to even know what it is I'm talking about. You're both talking over me. Excuse me.
Sorry,
let me explain what my policy is. I want to make sure that those young people who are paying and their debt is not going down get a relief.
Wendy, that's excruciating, and both those guys, I mean, Martin Lewis was in the green room waiting, the hospitality room waiting to come on for some other feature that they were doing, and he was so enraged by what Kemi was saying that he burst in uninvited into the studio, starts shouting at her. Then you heard Ed Balls joining in, and what we were seeing there, both men have since apologised, quite rightly, but what we were seeing then was a serious case of mansplaining over, no less, the leader of the Tory party. She wasn't having it, good for her. But what happens with guys, you know, when they get together, is there a sort of natural kind of assumption that they are the ones who should be explaining, they are the ones who should be talking, you can shut up? They little ladied her, didn't they?
They absolutely did it. It was disgraceful. It was rank bad behaviour, Kevin. What I thought was, actually, I wasn't sure that it was a very good example of mansplaining, because you couldn't actually hear what anyone was saying. So I'm not really sure if they were trying to explain. But mansplaining is it's trying to explain something to a woman, assuming that she knows less than the man, regardless of her actual level of expertise. And it comes across, it's condescending and it's patronising. I think this was a better example of manterrupting, which is very similar, but it's the same kind of process that's going on. There is often, with men, there is an assumption that what they have to say is more important than what a woman.
Yeah, that's what it was, manterrupting. I like that. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It's two guys who assumed that as a double act that they were so much more important than the little woman sitting across on this sofa across there. When guys get together, I mean, both those men, Balls and Lewis, have subsequently apologised, quite rightly. But when two men get together, I mean, is there a tendency for them almost organically to assume this superior masculine position?
Yeah, yes. I mean, I don't know if it's organic or whether I would say it's cultural, but there's a huge body of research that shows that men in a meeting, for example, on average, they interrupt a woman 3 times more than the other way round. And very often, you know, in company meetings...
Can I just say, Wendy, no, I'm joking.
Yeah. So, yes, they do. And it's a display of power very often. You know, men think that what they have to say is more important than what a woman has to say. I mean, it's awful. I have to say, I think Kemi handled it extremely well. She was very, very gracious, very dignified about it. And I too am glad that they've apologised.
They certainly picked on the wrong victim there. And you're quite right. She was very restrained. But I thought the great moment in that clip was when she said, and this is when they suddenly looked very contrite. She said, "You're talking over me." And they were together. They were just shouting her down. Outrageous.
Absolutely, extremely bad manners. So I often have clients that, you know, I kind of coach them really in how they deal with that, because it's such a common thing for women to be shouted down, talked over, interrupted. So I think she was a very good example. Another great example was Kamala Harris, the last vice president. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but when Mike Pence kept interrupting her.
I do remember that,
and she carried on. She just carried on. She said, "Excuse me, I'm talking. I'm talking. Excuse me, I'm talking." Eventually he shut up. So there is something about women need to...
I think, by the way, Wendy, I was kind of on Mike Pence's side at that moment, because anybody that shut Kamala Harris up should gain our approval. But I'm just being facetious. But to go back to Balls and Lewis, although, you know, all of us modern men, new men, we try and rail against it, is it still the case that hardwired into our cultural DNA, you know, deep down, although someone like me will probably try to rail against it, that deep down in my cultural DNA there's some kind of assumption of masculine superiority over women?
Okay, well, I'm about to womansplain to you.
Okay, yeah, but exactly, please do.
There is no such thing as cultural DNA. DNA is genetic. Culture is what you're raised with, and so it's, you know, the two things don't go together. So no, I don't think it is anything genetic or hardwired into people's brains. I think it is purely cultural, because men tend to grow up seeing other men behaving in that way towards women, so that is what they absorb and what they learn. It's a learned behavior, but it can be unlearned. And by the way, there's no such thing as a new man. There's just old men in new shirts.
Yeah, and in my case, a very old man in the new shirt. Wendy, really good to talk to you. It's fascinating stuff, it really is. Wendy Gregory there, a psychologist. Those two guys, Martin Lewis and Ed Balls. It's the leader of the Tory party. I thought, as Wendy said, Kemi Badenoch handled that brilliantly. And when she said, "You're talking over to me," you're talking over me, and you could see they suddenly realised, oh my God, we are seriously not man. I like that, man-terrupting. They were man-terrupting, but I also think they were mansplaining. Little lady, who the hell is she to talk about these kind of things? We're men. This is what we think. Let me know what you think about that if you like. 03444991000, because when we come back, we're going to take your calls, and I'll read a few messages as well. Peter Cardwell will be in after the 7 o'clock news, and he will lead you through till 10 p.m. So much still to come right here on Talk. Stick around, folks.
breaking news in the last couple of moments. Extraordinary news. The police have arrested Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. It's his 66th birthday today. What a birthday present that is.
Mr. Mandarin, how long do you think that you can stay on the island?
We're going to stay forever. Our rights have to be respected now. We're going to stay.
Do you expect Jeremy Clarkson to become a part of your new party?
I can tell you, if Jeremy Clarkson decided to darken my doorstep, I would be absolutely delighted.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. This is the last bit of the show. As I say, 7 p.m. after the 7 o'clock news, Peter Cardwell will take you through till 10 p.m. He'll be in a little bit before 7 o'clock to let you know what he's got lined up for your entertainment. Lots of messages coming in. I'll take some calls in just a second. Nadia Hussein, somebody says maybe there's not a name on this, but she's got a point. Do you remember that cake she made for the Queen? Well, this correspondent suggests maybe Nadia was sacked after that awful cake she made for the Queen. I think that was a while ago, so I don't think that was the reason, but I do remember the cake. Didn't look very good, did it? Here's Robert. Nadia lost her job because she only ever cooked one dish, one style of dish, Indian. Being a chef myself for 30 years, I know you have to cook from all cultures, not just one. I didn't really follow her career very much after Bake Off, to be honest with you. Is that the case? Did she just cook Asian food? I don't know, but maybe Robert's got a point. Amanda says, Emma Trimble, our commentator who came on at 5 p.m. Amanda says, Emma Trimble is brilliant. Please have her on more often. We will, Amanda, and I agree with you. She always has been brilliant, but she is brilliant, quite right. Do you remember I had young Bob on earlier, the Thomas Moffat, the guy that, the young 17-year-old who went to Whitechapel and got basically beaten up because he was telling them that Ramadan's rubbish compared to Lent. It is quite slightly provocative, to be fair. But this is Michael. Michael says, young Bob just goes to prove no way should 16-year-olds be able to vote. They're too young. He has no idea what party he wants to be a member of. PMQs is like watching 6-year-olds in the playground and seriously needs reform in the 21st century. So that's a different issue. Well, you know, I know Thomas quite well. Well, I've had him on my show quite a few times. He's 17 years old. He is extraordinarily brilliant. I mean, he is the cleverest kid I've ever come across in my life. Is he confused in his thinking? Well, you can make your mind up about that. But I don't think he's just some sort of kid flippity-gibbet going, oh, I was being reformed now. Now I want to be in advance. So I'm going to move. I think he thinks about these things very seriously. And I think he's worth listening to. He's such a clever kid. I mean, you might not like where he stands politically or his religious fundamentalism, if you like, but he's a very interesting young man. So I wouldn't write him off. Christina says about young Bob. Young Bob is very naive regarding Reform UK. I am so glad Rupert Lowe and Ben Habib are not in Reform UK. They would be disruptive, negative, and think they should be the leaders. They tend to air their dirty washing in public. That's Christina. And what else we got? Oh, yeah, this is Max in Somerset. He's talking about the migrant crisis, when I called it an armada, an invasion. He said, you're wrong, Kevin. You just said we're back on, folks, the invasion, the armada with several hundred boats coming across today or migrants coming across today. You're wrong, because our Royal Navy stopped the actual armada as they did and still are supposed to defend our shores. In terms of the migrant crisis, a lot of people say, get the old Navy out there to stop these boats coming across the channel. Navy won't do it. because they say it's an issue of maritime safety. So when people say, bring in the Navy, it's pointless. They'll never do it. Anyway, let's go to the calls, shall we? Let's talk to Roy in Hampshire. Hello, Roy. You want to talk about Mandelson and his alleged plan to flee Britain?
Yeah, Kevin. I think they're making a mountain out of a molehill, to be honest with you. If he'd have gone to the airport,
yeah,
he'd have had every photographer going. Then he's got to go through and check in. Then he's got to go to immigration. At immigration, you've got special branch up there.
Yeah, but wait, on what basis would they have stopped him?
Well, this is I'm sure that they would have notified the police that interviewing him.
No, but before they arrested him on Monday and they put him on bail, which is very important. They also took his passport away, so that makes it difficult for him to leave. But by putting him on bail, that means he is now remanded with a view to this investigation. So he's now in the criminal, or rather the police net, as it were. Before Monday, if he'd have gone to the airport and got on a plane, that's not there wouldn't really necessarily have been any reason to stop him. Do you see what I mean?
I see. Just one other point, mate, about the boats that are coming across now. In the Mail last week, apparently why the French are sharpening us is because of the submarine deal that we did with America and Australia.
Yeah, well, there's all sorts of geopolitical reasons why the French don't like us very much. But then again, there's a historical reason. The French don't like us and we don't like them. That's the way it is. But either way, the French are doing nothing, or virtually nothing, to help us solve the migrant crisis. They just let these migrants come across 21 miles from France to Dover, and across they come. So we've got a problem there. Roy, always good to talk to you, mate. Thank you for an excellent call. Roy in Hampshire. Let's talk to Jill in Cornwall, and Jill wants to know, and I echo her inquiry. She wants to know, welcome Jill, you want to know what exactly we're paying the French for. Don't ask me.
Well, I'm so angry with the fact that we keep dishing out the money to the French. I mean, the French aren't going to stop the boats, because if they stop the boats, those people will stay in their country. They've then got to sort something out for them. And at the moment, you know, for me, it feels like they're helping these people rather than preventing.
Well, yeah, they do. I mean, what we found out today, statistics now reveal that ever since we've been giving them hundreds of millions of pounds, so far we've given them £700 million, the French, that the French police have only stopped a third of the boats and a third of the migrants. So two-thirds of the migrants and the boats that wanted to come across illegally from France to Britain have been allowed to do so. Why did we give them £700 million for that?
Give us our money back. Why doesn't someone stand up to the French and tell them, give us our money back or do something to help?
Well,
I can't understand how these people are supposedly in power and looking after this country and protecting the people of this country, and yet they seem to be paying out, taking our money, giving it away. The French must be laughing.
Laughing all the way to the bank. And Lord Redwood, John Redwood, as you may have heard on the show at 6 o'clock, he said, well, look, if we're going to give the French money to patrol their beaches, ostensibly to stop the boats, to stop the migrants leaving France, we should only give them money on a performance basis. You know, if you're stopping 100%, then you can have hundreds of millions of pounds. If you're stopping only a third of these boats, only a third of these migrants, frankly, you can't have anything because you're not doing the job we're paying you to do.
No, and when I look at other countries that are managing to sort of get their grips on illegal immigration, we might, in some cases, we criticise it and what have you, but they're stopping this happening. And we've got a government, a bunch of spineless
Careful
nutties.
now. Family show.
I know.
I share your fury. Don't worry, I can think of a few names from them as well. But they're just so hopeless, this government. And the idea that Keir Starmer is plotting or planning right now to hand the French more money to do a job they just don't do. It's just bizarre. It's ridiculous. This man is a waste of space, Starmer. Jill, really good to talk to you, as always. Thank you. Jill in Cornwall. Final call just before Peter Cardwell joins me here in the studio. It's my friend Herbie in Harrow. What do you want to moan about tonight, Herbie?
You know the game. You know the game very well, Kevin.
Yeah.
Listen, mate, I am so cheesed off. How big a hole and the cesspit can this country go down, for Christ's sake?
Yeah, I mean,
how much more can we take?
It's becoming a clown show. It's becoming an embarrassing clown show. And it seems if there's a stupid mistake, if there's a wrong course to take, if there are errors to be achieved, this government will find a way. I mean, they do nothing right whatsoever, do they?
Absolutely nothing. Kevin, we must be the laughing stock of the world, the way this country's going. Where are the people? Why aren't we standing up and saying we've had enough? Let's show this government what we think of them and start to try to get them out. They are a waste of space. They're costing us fortunes. They're making our life a misery. We don't need them. We don't want them. It's time for them to go.
I'll tell you what.
Get somebody in.
I'll tell you what, Herbie. I mean, although, you know, technically it's difficult because this government will hang on for dear life, unfortunately, probably until 2029. We can't get rid of them. But I agree with you. The mood in the country is reaching some kind of feverish crescendo. People have had enough of this government, and I can understand why. Herbie, great to talk to you, as always. Keep in touch, Herbie in Harrow. Peter Cardwell's in the studio. Hello, Peter.
Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm very, very well. What have you got lined up for our audience's entertainment all the way to 10 o'clock?
Very weird day in Parliament for lots of reasons. Lindsay Hoyle, I know you've spoken about.
Yeah, amazing story.
But Chagos as well. Really, really fascinating.
Hey, but it's on pause, isn't it?
Well, but it's not. So the Foreign Office Minister...
Sorry, audience, what I've been telling you the whole show, I was wrong, apparently.
So Hamish Falconer has said, who's the Foreign Office Minister, has said it's on pause. We've seen that clip.
Yeah.
But now the government says, oh, actually, no, it's not on pause. Everything's fine. We're continuing in all of this. So they're contradicting the Foreign Office Minister, who should know exactly what he's talking about, but doesn't.
I get the feeling, though, that Hamish Faulkner is talking sense. He's talking the truth.
Yeah, well, I think so, because the Americans have to make up their mind about what they think.
But Starmer and the gang, as soon as anyone says this Chagos deal's down the pan, it's over. Starmer, it's like red rag to a bull. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not.
Well, it would also be a 16th U-turn. Speaking of Americans, we're going to reflect on the State of the Union as well. We've got Kinsey Schofield telling us all the royal updates on Andrew and elsewhere. And also we've got Isabel Oakeshott, who will talk us through exactly her views on the big news stories of the day.
I think the State of the Union, last night the State of the Union was one of complete tedium as the President bored on for about 2 hours. I'm a great admirer of Donald Trump, but sometimes those speeches, they really ramble on, don't they?
Yeah, certainly. There were some really interesting moments there where he said, stand up if you believe in sorting out immigration in America, and all the Democrats said